Go Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host, the Yameen of Revolution, and the Boule, the Greek freak, the Divine Nine. They are pissed. Before we get into that, be sure to wipe your feet. That means hit the like button. You in the House of Revolution. Like, share, subscribe, support the platform, y'all. Well, revolution is a way of life, and revolution is for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I didn't get to drop no content yesterday. When I got off work, I was a little bit under the weather. But I'm off today, so we can do 2 shows. Let's get right into it. Your Boule members are very upset about that Black Grand Rising family. I'm sorry about yesterday, but I'm here today to put in my revolutionary work. The Boule, you told us Black History Month was canceled. Check. They told us Trump didn't like Black people. He definitely didn't want to do nothing for us. Check. Didn't they say that? I definitely know y'all told me Black History Month was canceled and Trump didn't like Black people. All right, well, let's get into Black History Month, not canceled. Trump definitely celebrated at the White House, and they still complaining. But let's get into it.
What's going on here, Johnson?
Salute.
What's happening? Trump did this. Wow, Trump had a Black History event, right? Isn't that something? I didn't think that was allowed. Everyone told me, the Democrats told me that Trump canceled Black History.
And we got the highest vote, and one of the big reasons I'm president today is because of the Black vote, and I just, and I always appreciate it. So this is a very special time.
Let's not do
it's
that.
Black History Month.
Let's not gloss over that. I'm tired of see one thing about me. I don't never in my life come on here and just tell y'all shit. I'll study all this shit real in depth before I bring it to y'all, before it hit here, you know? So for people to tell me Trump canceled Black History and all that, I'm like, why? Stop listening to any fucking thing the Boule saying or they printing, they putting out. It's all garbage. A lot of people need to stop telling kids Trump don't like Black people and that he's taking away all the freedoms from Black people. That's a damn lie. You're listening to the lies of your slave master, Jim Crow Joe, and the Democrats. Now here we have Trump letting the whole world know I'm in office because Black people helped me get in there. And I'm here to celebrate. He put some extra on it, Black History Month, because he know what people have been saying, and they've been doing a lot of hating on him. Let's go back to that.
Vote and
That's told me that Trump canceled Black History.
And we got the highest vote, and one of the big reasons I'm president today is because of the Black vote, and I just, and I always appreciate it. So this is a very special time. It's Black History Month. We love you all. We're going to work with you. We're going to make America greater than ever before. We're going to do it together. And I want to thank you all for being here. It's
What? Trump? I thought Trump canceled Black History Month. Ain't that what the shoe shiners, the Greek freaks, been telling all Black people all over social media? Anybody voted for Trump? You see, nigga, you're going back to the fields. Nah, he gonna erase everything our ancestors did. It ain't never gonna be no Black History Month. He the leader of the Ku Klux Klan. The man just thanked Black people for getting him in office. Check, we heard that ourselves. That's not AI. And then said he here to celebrate Black History Month. What fucking grand wizard of the Ku Klux Klan thanks Black people? You're not getting away with that, shoe shiners. What racist bigot thanks Black people for helping him get into power? Joe Biden didn't do that. Joe Biden got into power and said, y'all got to get with the Spanish-speaking people now. There's nothing I can do for you.
an incredible honor.
If Trump canceled Black History, why do they have a Black History like event at the White House?
Because they liars and spread lies to Black people to scare them.
Sounds like someone's not being totally honest.
The last administration tried to reduce all of American history to a single year, 1619, but under our administration, we honor the indispensable role Black Americans have always played in the immortal cause of another date, 1776.
That's
We
right.
like 1776.
Either Trump's not being honest and forgot like Joe Biden, or maybe the Democratic Party has been putting out a certain version of, you know.
in the very first skirmish of
That's
the
right, they keep
Revolutionary
these
War at
trying to shoot.
Lexington Green, an enslaved black man named Prince Estabrook. You know Prince Estabrook? Yeah. Answered history's call and fought as the Minutemen alongside the other patriots of the very small Massachusetts town. Couldn't protect itself, but they did a good job. Prince was wounded in the early morning battle, becoming not only the first African-American soldier to fight in the Revolution, but among the very first Americans to spill their blood. One of the first in the nation to spill blood in that very tough time.
Come on, man. There he is, giving up the honor and the glory to the ancestors. One of the first, we know. Now he letting everybody else know that he know, and he's here to celebrate that with us and honor that great black man.
Soon Estabrook joined the Continental Army and ultimately won his own freedom along with that of his fellow Americans. His legacy will endure, and we're very proud to honor him today. It's a very important day in our country, and we honor him. First person to spill blood happened to be Tim Estabrook. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we will be including the statue of Prince Estabrook in our new National Garden of American Heroes. We're going to be doing a Garden of American Heroes. And now that I think of it, I must tell you, sadly, most of them, I guess all of them are not with us any longer. I was going to put Tiger in the garden, but maybe you don't want to be.
I'm gonna let this flow. But if you've been noticing, IRS been cutting in. It's all kind of people in America been losing their jobs. And whites, Mexicans, Asians. But the Boule told us Trump going after blacks. It's blacks that's gonna be the worst. I see a lot of white people crying about their food stamps. I see a lot of white women complaining. I see a lot of white men crying, white women crying. Say, I lost my job at the IRS. Damn, them ain't black people. I thought you said Trump was just talking to blacks. The shoe shiners should be ashamed that they discuss themselves. But they don't have no shame. Oh, no. Their job is to scare the hell out of us, bro.
I maybe should wait a little bit. Like about 50. I think I'm going to wait about 50 years, all right? But Tiger's going to make it, okay? But I'm a little afraid to tell him yes, because he'd be the only one that's living. I don't know, Tiger. Tiger's rejecting that offer, right? Under the executive order I signed last month, this new beautiful outdoor statue park. It's going to be a statue park. It's going to be unbelievable.
Hold on, man. This is kind of crazy. I'm like having oh no, man. This feels a little weird here.
Statue park with great black Americans in it? Trump, come on, man. You a racist bigot. Why would you be putting great black American heroes in a statue park out there? You a racist. I thought you wanted to take all of the black statues away and anything black. I thought we weren't even going to have a park because you the Ku Klux Klan boss. That was a lie.
That's a little weird. What's going on here, Johnson? What's happening? Trump did this. You sounded a little bit like Biden at the beginning when he said, I'm going to thank the blacks. But it felt a little different. But, that's just feelings. You know what really makes us feel better? What's going to really make a difference is the policy. That's where it's going to cut the road. That's where the rubber meets the road, baby. It's with the policy. It ain't with the words. Words are nice, and I'm seeing a lot of people getting hypnotized by the words. Let's look at what's on deck.
I told y'all. I said before he got in office, Trump allowed to put the reparations plan together and say, hey, this is going to make America great. He the only one that can look the whites in their face and tell them, hey, doing this for the blacks, the great heroes to America, going to help us. He the only one could tell them, putting more on their plate, going to put more on our plate. He the only one could sell a deal to the white Americans. He the only one. And he the only one who said, I have something for black people. It was the platinum plan. Hell no, it wasn't enough in there. But that's what the negotiation about. That's what the negotiation about. And he said black people. Nobody else is even willing to say black people. You got to say minorities, or you got to say the people who want diversity. We're going to help the diverse people. Trump said, who the hell are y'all talking about? I'm talking about black people. Come on now. Revolutionary salute to our Queen Shannon G for the donation to the war chest. Revolution is way of life. Absolutely appreciate the love. Queen, salute to you. So we came here to step on the Boule this morning. They hide not. They reorganizing. They lied to all these black people. They lying to their kids, scaring their kids. I'm going to tell you the truth. That's the shit that pissed me off the most. We know you lying bigots and shoe shiners, buck dancers. We know all y'all do is buff, buff, shine, shine. Y'all legendary Olympic shoe shiners. We know that. But you scaring your kids, bro, to be democratic slaves. That's disgusting. And we can't have that.
We'll honor hundreds of our greatest Americans to ever live, including countless Black Americans, icons. The garden will...
He gonna honor hundreds of Americans in his new statue park, including Black Americans, legendary Americans. Oh, the shoe shiners hate that. Who is gonna be? What type of black people? Huh? We got to make sure that they really black. No, we gonna make sure they really black, and they not some goddamn tethers like y'all been trying to do to our history. We only y'all.
Predominantly feature incredible women like Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Billie Holiday, Aretha Franklin, and Coretta Scott King.
Amen.
And I will showcase extraordinary. It will be something very extraordinary. It's going to be producing, we're going to produce some of the most beautiful works of art in the form of a statue for men like Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, Jackie Robinson, what a great athlete that was.
Real deals.
Martin Luther King Jr.
Okay,
Muhammad Ali. Not a bad athlete. What do you think, Muhammad? Not too bad. And the late Kobe Bryant. People love Kobe.
What? Oh, man, Trump, you better stop, man. Them shoe shiners, they would try to take you out before you give all this glory to black people. They cannot let you do this, Trump. Now, I feel for the president's safety because these Greek freaks are lunatics. I'm surprised they didn't take a shot at him right now. Oh, hell no. He can't give Kobe Bryant no statue. They gonna love him forever in L.A. now. All the Kobe Bryant fans, they love him now. Kobe getting honored by Trump. Come on, Kobe's black. Why are you honoring that?
And we're going to save Tiger Woods for another time. That's all that I can. I'm sorry. During Black History Month,
I don't want to hear no Tiger Woods disrespect. The black man, his daddy was black. He was confused as a youngster. His daddy is black. His daddy told him, you black. Tiger went through hell and had to find out he's a black man. But he came in here on Black History Month as a black man to get his award, man. I wish more of our kids can play golf and do honorable things with their life and be called squares. Growing up, most of the people that we was calling squares, they had good homes, they got families, loving wives, jobs, money saved up. Most of the niggas I know, we was G's and gangsters, hard times, prison, gunshot wounds, a lot of them not here. Baby mama left them for their partner when they went to prison. What? So who do you want your kid to grow up and try to be like?
We pay tribute to these heroes and to so many others, but not simply because they're black heroes, but also because they are truly American heroes who inspire all of us.
That's
very
right.
much
American
so.
hero.
Okay. Give it up for that. Give it up for that. Okay. I don't know, Johnson. I don't know how I feel about this one. All right, let's take it back. Let's go here. Let's go. Let's have a conversation. First of all, calm down, black people. Calm down. I know it feels interestingly different because they have, how can I say this? I know that there has been such a stigma put on Donald Trump that he was such a racist.
They done lied on this
when
man.
he does things or says things that are basically normal things. Normal, kind of respectable.
They said this man was Hitler. Why is Hitler honoring? I ain't never seen Hitler honor no black people. That's serious business. Why is the Hitler of America honoring black people and talking about all the great work that black people have done for America and say that he wouldn't be president if it weren't for black people? Hitler would never say nothing that disgusting like that. Not the real Hitler. So either this man been lied on and smeared, or I'm missing something here.
Things, he gets extra points because when they say you are Hitler and you're not Hitler,
come on now,
and you're not coming across as Hitler, makes you go, see, I wasn't a fool. He's not Hitler. Or see, he's not David Duke. See, He's not a Nazi. Wow, didn't know. I thought he hated black people. So there are some people that are talking.
Told y'all, everybody can't be bigots. You can go in anybody's history and find bigotry, even our history. You can find bigotry from black people all the time. They don't want white people staying in their neighborhood. You're looking at white people crazy. Old school black people. They don't want, that we have our own bigotry at times. I say Trump probably at times done been a bigot at times, but that's not being a motherfucking racist. It's a goddamn difference than being a bigot. And I said Trump done been wrong for playing footsies with some bigots and racists to get power. Playing footsies with them is not being a racist your goddamn self. It's disgusting at times and it's not moral. But it's not the same motherfucking thing. And you got to be a grown up to be able to understand the difference.
There are people that I've heard, as I was prepping for the show, will be very critical of black people who are happy to hear this. But those people, they don't really have much of an emotional intelligence, or how can I say? They don't know how to look at people as people or look at people's feelings and weigh those into the equation. And I'm not naming any names, but there are people that are very vocal about this. Look, it's only natural for people that have been dealing with other people harassing them for years, probably online, because they thought Donald Trump was a better candidate or whatever, to feel somewhat vindicated that he's turning out not to be anywhere as bad as people were saying it was. It's only natural to appreciate that. Nothing wrong with that. There were people that appreciated things from Joe Biden when he didn't do shit. He didn't say shit. Very interesting. He didn't do much. There were people on the Democratic side that were jumping out the building, calling him a great man. I had people sit on my very show, entertainers, producers, writers, politicians, praise Joe Biden with no basis for praising him. So from a humanistic standpoint,
Joe Biden and the Democrats was telling, the only thing Joe Biden did was, America has been a racist nation. Why his ancestors own people. And then he don't do shit about it. America has been racism in its history. Then you don't do shit about it. Then we don't like racism. And then you support the neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Trump says Zelensky's a damn dictator. He's over and them Nazis is finished. Damn, Biden. Why you didn't do that? Damn Congress. I will never let the Congressional Black Shoeshiners ever get away with supporting them Nazis in Ukraine. Or anybody else who told me I should vote for the Democrats. Nigga, you support Nazis. Who the fuck you think you talking to? Trump is racist. Bitch, you support Nazis and giving them advanced weapons. You can't talk to cult figure about no Democratic Party and they send advanced weapons to Nazis. You can't get away with that.
I understand why people will feel this way. But here's the truth. As I see it, there was once a commercial was a little white man on a little boat, he was a fisherman. He used to do this thing. He used to go, you're going to have to do better than that. You're going to have to do better than that. And that's what I'm saying. Trump's going to have to do better than that. Okay, I know. You may feel good about it, but that ain't enough. I don't want you just to feel good. I want you to live good. I want you to do good. I want you to be good. I want us to be good. And we can't be good. We can't get better. We can't progress if all it takes is some nice words. And then we just fall down, and all fall in line and stop standing on our principles. We must stand on our principles no matter who it is. Now, I wish people had this stand on principle shit when they were dealing with the Democrats. But we're supposed to set a standard. We're supposed to pave the way. You are one of the innovators. You're one of the smart ones. You see through the bullshit. You know Rachel Maddow's a liar. You know Joy B be making up shit. You know you can't trust the View. You know buy into Trump is the devil and Biden was the savior. You don't buy into that, so you're one of the smart people. But if you really want to go for the gold, please tell me you do. You and I have to hold each other accountable that we push further than that.
That's right.
That we push beyond that we push for greatness. We push for responsibility and accountability out of our president.
I'm not saying that everything is all good. Everything is okay with Trump. He celebrated Black history. He finna do a bunch of great things for legendary Black people in the past, statues, things of that nature. What I'm saying is they said the man was canceling Black History Month and he don't like Black people. I'm saying you've been exposed as a liar. You've been exposed as a fraud. And all they want to do is herd us back into that Democratic plantation so they can be wealthy. You got to understand that. They're rich. They're millionaires. A lot of these Black bougie motherfuckers, bro, they don't ever get harassed by no cops. They're stinking rich. They don't never see junkies. They don't have no junkies in their neighborhoods. They never see burglars. They don't have none. They never see hoodlums. They don't give a fuck. And they always talking about freeing everybody in prison. That is outrageous. You never been there. You don't know who the fuck in there. Don't tell me free a bunch of them niggas in there. Boy, your ass, you'll regret it if they ever come to your house, them niggas, a lot of them cats in there. See? But the Democrats don't care because they don't live near no criminals, bro. They don't give a shit about cleaning up our fucking community, bro. We can talk about the number one thing Black people need. They say prison reform. And I said this a million times. I've been in prison a couple of times. Yes, I want to reform. A lot of y'all haven't. That's not word. That's not on y'all mind. Criminals, like I used to be, we don't get to push the. That's disgusting to say. The number one thing on Black people's mind is criminal justice reform. That's saying all of us are criminals and worried about that type of shit. But that's their hustle. They're going to fight to get you some criminal justice reform. Or they're going to fight to help the cops not brutalize you. Never no financial justice. They don't talk like that. You can get food stamps. Not anymore. You can get low-income housing. Not anymore. You got 2 years, then your ass got to get to work.
Because that's what leaders do. So all of us got to be leaders. So yeah, look, man, I like what y'all saying here. Sounds good. Build your statues. I also see the direction he's going. He's like, we're Americans, man. Let's embrace the American. The fact that we're all here, we're all Americans. Let's
That's
make
right.
that be it.
Hey,
He said, is that just a
and
thing?
I'm going to say this because it's the truth. I swear to God, the Democrats try to turn Black people against America, bro. They try to make us feel like we're not welcome here. It's not never going to be nothing but racism and bigotry. We never witnessed anything else. They never try to make it better. They always try to make it seem like we the other. They make us hate this country. That's a fact, Jack. I just snap out. They make us hate this country, hate the flag, hate everything to do with America. That's crazy. You hate yourself. You ain't got nowhere to go. Nobody wants you. Fuck, nobody should want us. We got somewhere. We from right here. But Democrats don't want us to feel like we from right here. That's serious business, man. And anybody who fuck with them, you need to understand that. They try to make us hate this fucking place. Why? Why they try to make us feel like some fucking abandoned office or something? That's the Democratic Party, man.
They're Black, but it's that they're Americans. And I see where he's going with that.
Salute, family.
Are we going to have America treat us like Americans? Or are they going to continue to treat us like second and third class citizens? That's the question. And that's what we got to fight for. That's what we got to make sure we stand on business on this issue. Because that's the reality of it. Now, I love this clip though. I love the clip for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons why I love it is because somebody said this, and I got a comment on it. They said this guy sounds like he's being woke.
Come on, man. Hey, man,
it sounds like he's being woke.
I wouldn't even be in office if Black people hadn't helped me. You know how humble a man got to be to say that? And Donald Trump got a big ego to come out here and say he don't get to run again. He don't need us to vote for him again. He just telling the truth. So the record be clear because he see all the people trying to smut his name. He hear it. He hear everything. And he's not going to turn on the people who helped him get in there. That's we respect that, bro. I do. That's just a part of, moving this thing forward. But it's glad to know, nigga, that he letting the world know if it wasn't for Black Americans, I wouldn't even be in office. Because whites couldn't get me over the hump. Mexicans, they couldn't get me over the hump. Asians, them neither. It was going to take the Black man and woman to help me get back in there to straighten things out, nigga, and that's what happened.
It's Black History Month. He's talking about everybody he mentioned being a statue, except for Kobe Bryant, was somehow attached to civil rights. And then it hit. Because see, I got these people that have been, there are people that have been getting all their money through the Democratic Party. They are Democratic Party animals. They are not about healing black people. They're not black. They say they're about black people getting on their feet and black people getting reparations, or black people finally, ending the subjugation, right? And us being like Americans and everybody gets treated well. And we're no longer second, third class citizens. We're no longer letting migrants come into the country and step over us while we stay stuck to the bottom of the country we built for free against our will. But they are not about breaking from the Democratic Party. And what I mean by that is this. They tell me woke meant black. But if you're saying everybody on that list that he mentioned for the statue in this forest of American heroes.
Listen, they stole woke from us. We used to say we woke back in the day. It really mean illuminated. You got some knowledge. Well, I'll never say woke again. They done perverted. Woke mean gay, and diverse mean gay. I'm gonna show you that later. Those terms mean gay to Trump and some of his hardcore people. When you say woke or diverse, you're talking about trannies to them. You're talking about LGBTQ. You're talking about trans genders teaching the kids. They're not thinking about black. Some of them racists are. Don't get me wrong. It's some racists. Yes, they are. But that ain't what Trump talking about. When he talking about DEI, he talking about transsexuals. He talking about cross-dressers. White cross-dressing men trying to get jobs as captains of the Navy and lead the Army, and you a trainee. That's what they talking about, bro.
If all of those people were attached to social justice and you call that woke, it sounds like woke means social justice, not just black, doesn't it? Yeah, because it does, and it always did. But there are people. See, there was more than one qualifier to being woke. They've called white people woke.
They perverse the term, co-opted.
White people could be woke if they're social justice people. People that think, they're thinking on another level. They're put these pieces together and talking about equality and equity and this and that and that. Those people are woke, right? Okay. I've been pushing back on this, and I lost some people that I thought was friends over this. Because they're so infected with everything being black versus white. And I get it because I grew up here too.
That's a scam, though.
But I gotta say, Johnson, if Trump's heroes, whatever this is going to be, the heroes force, the hero statues and statues of American heroes, if a lot of the black people that are going to be in this are
when you
woke,
get caught up in the black versus white, that's how all of our people get scammed in Africa, bro. Because they thought only the white man would do them like that. No black man, whatever. That's what happened to Tupac. Tupac said himself he never thought a black man would shoot him and rob him because he got caught up in the American black versus white. That's a fact. Malcolm, all of our people, they trap us right here in the black versus white. And you like the African finesses, finessing our people. We taking riches over there. They calling our people. I've seen different people building all kinds of different shit in Ghana. They getting their permits took. They getting their money took. It's a big shakedown. Because you don't understand tribalism. You go over there and see what the problem is in Africa. Why they treating each other like that if it was black versus white? Why are they over there one siding with the white man against the... See, because we have been wrongly taught here and have not prepared us to deal with real equations in this goddamn world. It's not black versus white. It's just versus unjust. The good versus the wicked.
But some are not going to be woke, then it's not a woke forest. Just because it has some black people in it. Kobe Bryant and Tiger Woods, I know he joked about Tiger. Tiger ain't really been on no social justice. I hope people get my point. This is not just about black people. It's about America. And that's their version of America. The problem is, before we can truly be American, we got to get the same treatment as Americans. we should not be operating from such a deficit. You cannot take one group of people, give them a floor, give them a pathway to the middle class, and not give that to another group of people, and then say, ha, we're all American now. That ain't how it works.
And the big discussion we're going to have is these people told us they didn't have reparations, and they've been giving away hundreds of billions of dollars to other people, other countries, for scandalous ass reasons. We really need to look into that. We can't let that go. And the Congressional Black Caucus knew that. When they was telling us, there ain't no money. Bitch, y'all giving hundreds of millions of dollars for LGBT studies in Africa. Hundreds of billions of dollars for private school for girls in the Middle East that the girls never get. Hundreds of billions of dollars for condoms to be shipped to Africa. And they don't really work because they got AIDS-infected condoms. You don't even understand what's going on. But they told you they didn't have no money to get right with you on what they owe your people. No. Trump and Elon done proved they got plenty. They got more than enough. They just didn't give a fuck about settling their debt with you. And the Congressional Black shoe shiner, since everybody go to Congress become a millionaire, that is your reparations. I want to look at their fucking contracts, bro. Their contracts probably say you have been given your reparations. Shut up and never say nothing about reparations. And they all say cool, because they become millionaires. The fuck they care about reparations for?
And that's not fair. And that's where the whole conversation starts all over again. Don't get me wrong. I saw the brothers and the sisters at the Trump event, and they look very happy. They look just about as happy as black people that I see at the White House when Obama was there. I didn't see that many people there when Biden was there. It's just weird that I see a room full of black people, influencers.
Revolutionary salute to our Queen Yaya's kids for the donation to the war chest. Revolution is the way of life. Absolutely appreciate the love. She say, teach, King. Well, I'm teaching.
With Trump.
Appreciate
anyway,
the love, Queen.
It's neither here nor there. I'm reporting on it. It's important news. I think it matters. But at the end of the day, unless you're going to put some tangibles on it, unless we're going to put some policy behind it.
It's coming.
Unless we're going to say we got a goal, we're going to achieve this goal. Because this is what we want to do.
I got some good news this morning for y'all. I got some revolutionary news. I got some news the revolutionaries can use. We're going to be looking at too. Trump just appointed this black lady from Memphis. I don't know too much about it. I just seen it this morning. Decided I'm going to make this part of our live. He just appointed a black lady from Memphis as the pardon czar. Oh, it's a lot of Boule hot. Trump ain't appointed no black people. He's just getting started, nigga. And he just appointed a black lady, a real black lady, not an Indian lady pretending to be black. Huh? Not some lady from some other place around the world coming here pretend like she's better than the black women that's here. No, a real black woman from Memphis. She is the pardon czar. What is a black woman going to be looking at pardons for? Huh? You think Trump not going to tell her, you go in there and you find me some of your people that's been wrongly done, and we're going to make sure at the end of this folks, you remember I said that. Oh, it's going to be a bunch of pardons, but when you put a black woman at the head of the pardons on, Trump knows she's going to go in there and look out for people. That's natural. But the Boule not going to praise that.
There isn't much to say about it other than, okay, sounds good. Next. And I don't mean to be cold, but we got to say next. What's next? Then what you going to do? Because life doesn't begin and start with us. Life begins and starts with your family name. It begins and starts. We're extensions of our parents. And if your parents weren't allowed to own property, if your great-great-grandparents were not allowed to really accrue wealth, then you're at a disadvantage. If someone intentionally kept your family from being all it could be, how could they in turn send that money, pass it down to you? How could they pass property down to you if they were property?
See, and this is the problem. We've been fooled and conned. We've been hoodwinked. We've been bamboozled. We didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on us. The Greek freak, the Divine Nine, the Boule, the wise ones amongst our people, they've been millionaires a long time. They've been property owners a long time. No Ku Klux Klan was lynching these house niggas. Oh, we found out. They was only lynching us. The poor niggas are the ones who went against what they was plotting and planning. You know, they probably voted on which uppity nigga would get lynched before they even got lynched. Oh, yes, we have to look into this. These rich Boule niggas been millionaires a long time, living hog to hog a long time, very long time. And now we don't want to see it. All of us ain't been living in no goddamn poverty. All of us, haven't been property-less. And some of these niggas been millionaires since the early 1900s. They've been rich. All throughout the civil rights movement, when black people were so poor, they was rich.
Jim Crow laws that restricted them from owning property where they can make the most money. How could that ever be right? How could that ever be fair? How could that ever be justice? And if America wants to be a just country, how could it ever be American? People that are happy about Trump, they're not sellouts. They're not coons. They're not all these derogatory names. And unless you're going to use those same terms for Biden supporters, unless you're going to call Biden supporters and Kamala supporters and Obama supporters that, you really shouldn't call Trump supporters that. Because at the end of
they only say that on the internet. I'm yet to meet any of those Greek freak shoe shining house niggas tell Coffee he's a coon. I'm waiting for him to look me in my face and tell me I'm the sellout, nigga. Oh, I'm going to have to be bonded out that motherfucking day. Y'all get me out that goddamn day. I'll put it on my tea later. We're going to go to war behind those words because these people want tampons in the boys' bathroom. These people want our kids to be able to transition. They the ones want a man to have to go to jail if you go to their school and say, hey, you better not be having drag queens reading to my kids. We don't allow that type of hanky-panky in my household. You see, those are the sellouts. And I would tell them that to their goddamn face.
At the end of the day, they all report to the same people. Donors, Wall Street, billionaires, special interest group. So, yeah. And when I hear people making it like, if you support Trump, you're a sellout, but if you support Biden, you're fine. That means those people, whatever woke means, you're the opposite of it. You're delusional because you don't even know what time it was or is with the Democratic Party. That means you're infected, to be honest. Now, both parties suck, and if you don't know that by now, you got problems. You haven't been looking at your party, or you don't want to accept it because you feel like you got to have a home to go to. You know what? Sometimes it's okay to be a Rolling Stone. It's okay.
Unfortunately, some people are going to watch this video and still keep their mind made up. It doesn't matter how much proof you put in front of somebody. It doesn't matter how much objective facts is presented to them. They're just not convinced.
This is a perfect example of why President Trump always has to be on guard against these so-called reporters.
On the campaign trail, you called yourself a nationalist. Some people saw that as emboldening white nationalists. Now people are also saying that
It's such a racist
there are
question.
some people that say that now the Republican Party is seen as supporting white nationalists because of your rhetoric. What do you make of that?
I don't believe it. I don't know. Why do I have my highest poll numbers ever with African Americans? That's such a racist question. Right. Honestly, I mean, I know you have it written down and you're going to tell me. Let me tell you, it's a racist question.
And Mr. President,
I love it. You know what the word is? I love our country. I do.
You have nationalists, you have globalists. I also love the world, and I don't mind helping the world. But
Schooler, bro. Schooler, bro. You see what he just did to that uneducated Greek freak, Shoshana? You have globalists, you have naturalists. He say, I'm for the United States. I'm not for this global shit, this one world order shit. Now, he just had to say some shit that really over her head. He not supposed to be having to say, hey, man, I'm going after the small hats. But he just said that because she don't understand nationalism. You don't understand black nationalism? Is that racist? Do you see the BS here? These Greek freaks? Come on, man. But he tried to check her real quick and politically because she don't know what national and globalist is.
Our country first.
Not for
a lot of
America,
problems. Excuse me.
That's a fact.
But to say that, what you said is so insulting to me. It's a very terrible thing that you said.
Amen to that.
And it is.
Donald Trump just nipped it right there in the bud. But of course, legacy media would not play you this clip. And if they did, they're somehow manipulated into being Donald Trump, demeaning her in some sort of way, shutting her up or not letting her speak or cutting her off. They would have spent this either which way they could. But I wanted to show y'all this clip.
You know what? Hold on. You know what's so crazy about that? As she's saying that, Joe Biden and the Democratic Party backing the real white nationalists in Ukraine, who they say they fighting this. They say they fighting on behalf of the white race. That's in their paperwork. I already played that and proved that. The Azov Battalion, the right sector, the ones who really do the fighting, the descendants of the real Nazis. That's why they the neo-Nazis. They say they fighting on behalf of the white race to restore order for the white race. That's white nationalism. She backed it. She ain't never had a bad word to say about Ukraine. Talked bad about Putin. Not for anybody that's going to destroy the Nazis. Putin is a good guy, like his ancestors were good guys for kicking the Nazis' ass. But she talking about Trump as a nationalist. No, he's going against the white nationalists in Ukraine. I know that's a fact.
Because I wanted to show y'all this clip. JV the Great, shout out to the homie, posted, wait, what is this? Democrats said that Trump canceled Black History Month?
And we got the highest vote, and one of the big reasons I'm president today is because of the black vote, and I just and I always appreciate it. So this
hold on. I'm gonna make sure the people in the back can hear what he just said. Did y'all hear what he said?
And we got the highest vote, and one of the big reasons I'm president today is because of the black vote, and I just and I always appreciate it. So this is a very special time. It's Black History Month. We love you all. We're going to work with you. We're going to make America greater than ever before. We're going to do it together, and I want to thank you all for being here. It's an incredible honor.
Amen to that. So right here, you hear him giving us, the Black community, our praises for our part in him being able to become the president again. Yes, he said, look, your role was important in being able to get me here, and he acknowledges that. But for whatever reason, the Democrats want to make it seem like he just brushes past these things. I don't get it. Why are people so fixated on not wanting to focus on the good that this man do? Because, man, I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to answer the question that I just asked. Because mainstream media has done a really great job of brainwashing us into believing or getting triggered by color. You lost me at Democrat said, President Trump keeping it real and trying to make things better for all Americans. Yes, he is. And as George pointed out, he ain't try to switch up his demeanor or accent to try to fit in with us either.
Yeah, I'm proud to say that we received, listen to this, more votes from Black Americans than any Republican president ever, not even close. Almost 40% of the vote. Now, I won't be happy the next time. Should I run again? You tell me. There's your controversy right there. There's your controversy.
He trolling the media right there. They about to run with that. Oh my gosh, Donald Trump. Watch. I can't wait till the news clip come up. Y'all send it to me. Watch. I'm predicting it. He just said that he was gonna overthrow the Constitution so he can run for 4 more years. He said it. He said it.
Thank you. You'll be seeing that on you're gonna see that tonight, Tim, on television. I want to thank just a few of the people who are with us today, and
Yep.
proud to
Trying to tell y'all, man. And he said, yep, you'll be seeing this on television later tonight. Yep, he'd be winning for a fourth time. Somebody says, because we all know what happens next time. Now, you have some famous, some rappers up in there. Kodak Black, hip-hop artist, Billboard charting rapper. Kodak Black was embraced by Trump supporters when he arrived at the White House for Black History Month. We are having the times of our life in this month. Well, he said out this month. Signed Dom Lucre.
Kodak.
Now, if y'all ask me, yeah, I'm a little indifferent. I wish I was there. So because I gotta suffer, I'm gonna make y'all suffer.
Yes. What about you, Am?
Remember this?
Huh? Okay, well, I don't do sports. I don't do football, so I wasn't watching the game. But listen, I think today Donald Trump is going to sign an executive order banning black people from halftime. Because you remember last week we were talking about...
Yeah. And somebody will walk away with that, with the idea that, yeah, Donald Trump, he's going to ban black people from halftime after that. I wish they could have said legal note. But yeah, the woke mob continues to try to convince people that Trump is racist. But today, man, he just, but we're going to continue into the meltdown realm real quick. I really wanted to know what Al Sharpton thinks about this right now.
Absolutely.
But the closest thing I can find is what him and this exchange between him and Mayor Adams. Not Adams, Johnson. I'm sorry. Just listen to this fear-mongering BS, man. Progressive Mayor Brandon Johnson alluded to Trump being racist for targeting large metropolitan areas that harbor illegal aliens. You have Mr. Al Sharpton over here insinuating that Donald Trump is only targeting him because he's black.
City of Chicago is going to stand up and lead the way.
Now, you mentioned two mayors in Atlanta and one in St. Louis. It seems that Trump has been the most confrontational with the nation's largest city mayors, such as yourself, who are also mostly black in these cities, the mayors.
Lord.
Never forget, Joe Biden, Department of Justice, indicted Mayor Adams from New York because he went against all those illegals in New York, went against the Democratic program. He was a Democrat, and they decided to indict him. Trump's DOJ just said, drop those charges. They don't want to drop them, but Trump already said he gonna pardon Mayor Adams. So here's this. He's just going after you because he's black. No, Biden locked up a black mayor who wouldn't go along with him. This shoe shine to know that.
Do you personally feel targeted, and are you concerned with potential consequences or retaliation from the administration as you push back?
See? Are you afraid of retaliation from Trump? Nigga, after Mayor Eric Adams was arrested for going against Biden, ain't that retaliation? They was calling him the Black Trump. He was indicted. But now, he's already so stupid. I feel like Trump gonna get me, sir. I don't know if Trump's looking for me. I peeps out my window every morning. Don't know if today is the day I goes away.
Well, we're certainly not afraid. Look, Frederick Douglass, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Fannie Lou Hamer sat down with some of the most detestable people in our nation's history. And if they can sit down and work through elements of threat, certainly I can do that. What is very obvious, though, to me is that
there is... act like he facing danger. If Dr. King and Malcolm X can face it, so can I. You house nigga, nobody's worried about you. You need to be arrested for going against the Constitution of the United States and harboring illegals and sheltering them like it's the underground. They are acting like that's what's so disgusting. Everybody use our people for every goddamn thing. Now they acting like hiding these illegals is like the Underground Railroad all over again. And the descendants of slaves, we got to help the illegals. We have got to help replace ourselves. You owe it to your ancestors to cause all the harm you can do to your fucking community on behalf of others.
True animus against progressive politics that see transformation through the lens of liberation, and particularly as
bro. You ain't fooling nobody with all those syllables, dude. you basically saying we're not measuring up to the ideology of allowing illegal criminals to be able to be provided for and aided for. Like, bro, you're not fooling nobody with that BS.
As we celebrate Black History Month, when you look at the accomplishments that we have made over the course of decades in this country, it has always been through the lens of Black folks. Look, here's the part that's actually fascinating to me, especially as we talk about DEI. During the Great Depression, unemployment for white men was 30%, Reverend Al, and our country called it a national crisis. They got housing, they got education, they got shovels before there were things to dig. No one talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion when white men needed to be made whole. And now you have Black folks, brown folks, Asian folks, you have LGBTQ plus folks across this country.
That's what's disgusting. That's the problem. You see, what did they do for Blacks? Then you name every fucking body else that we supposed to be fighting for. The LGBTQ, the Asian, the gay, the lesbian, the transgenders, the illegals. What the hell are you talking about, Shoeshana? Get off your knees for a second. That's disgusting. And you see, when they talking about this great Black history, why the fuck they never bring up the Panthers? Why they never bring up the Black Panther Party for self-defense? The only ones who shot it out from state to state on revolutionary resistance, because they never been able to put their white Democratic fathers will pull the plug on their ass. That's way too radical. Never bring up this Black Panther Party, because they didn't ask for shit. When they bring up doing for self, why don't bring up the Panthers who taught this country about was no child food program until the Panthers showed them what a child food program looked like. Were no care packages for the community until they stole that idea from the Panthers. But they don't want to bring up the Panthers. None of these clowns. Why? Because there's armed resistance. That's really standing up for your goddamn self. They talk about Black history. That's the greatest of the greats. You only bring up people who didn't fight. You see, to them, not fighting is really fighting. That's bullshit and double speak and confusion. Nigga.
That need us to stand up for working people. That's the legacy.
Oh my God, shut up, bro. Like, shut up. I can't take no more of that. Both these two pieces are pieces of all right. Exactly. Like, bro, these I can't wait to watch them melt down. I was over here waiting to see if we had some CNN or MSNBC clips that was going to rise from this. I wanted to show y'all this just because I'm like, I wonder how he feels that, I mean, Trump just debunked that whole SNL skit. I get that it was done in 2012. Cool, we could take the joke, but I'm just saying, like, he had a room full of Black people. You insinuated that all Trump supporters look like that. Somebody said, what a racist. Trump hosts Black History and Trump hosts Black History Month event. Quote, we have more Black Republicans serving in the House since 1870. They think that's Black? I mean, racist? Wow. Right below that, haven't you heard he is now racist against Mexico and South America? Oh, and Canada. They gonna say he pandering? Really? Somebody else having a meltdown right now. Seeing which famous Black people showed up for the Trump Black History Month event. But it wasn't that made me laugh the most. It was, I guess, the updates, the real-time updates and how he was processing all this. He says, I have to watch the racial draft episode again because I think Tiger traded. Now, what he's referring to right now is episode of Dave Chappelle from the Dave Chappelle show where he did the racial draft and Tiger Woods was on that episode. I can't remember which race he got drafted to. A culture lost to mankind also says, is Miss how you say that? Dolezal in attendance? I don't know. Oh, is Adam? They're booing Pfizer CEO. Yes, they did. He needed a Black guy on his cabinet, always in HUD. He's really trying to preach for uplifting everybody while working with this administration, knowing he doesn't have black friends and seeing this is wild. Using a Reconstruction era as a bit. I'll just leave it like that. All right. Now,
not too bad.
This is something that I think that black people could be black people whom are engulfed in this month and the traditions of what Black history is. They're gonna listen to this and be like, "Oh my God, Trump is that guy."
And what a great athlete that was. Martin Luther King Jr., Muhammad Ali. He was not a bad athlete. What do you think, Muhammad? Not too bad. And the late Kobe Bryant. People love Kobe Bryant. And we're going to save Tiger Woods for another time. That's all that I can. I'm Sharpton. What a...
He said we're going to save Tiger Woods for another time. What a comedian, man. Donald Trump, Black History Month. That was him announcing that a statue of Kobe Bryant will be placed at the National Garden of American Heroes. He also mentioned MLK. And I mean, what more can you ask for from a president? Somebody who doesn't try to sit up there and talk to, he ain't up there like, yo, we gonna do this, son. You know, we gonna get mad celebrities, statues, He ain't up there faking his accent. He ain't up there talking about no hot sauce. He ain't up there talking about nothing other than addressing the American people, while also today catering the message specifically towards the holiday of Black History Month. Somebody said, W Trump. Somebody also said he likes black people. It baffles me that people still run with this narrative that Donald Trump don't like you because of the color of your skin. Dude can care less, bro. And come in, cringe lords, coming in to bring up Colorado. Greatest of all time, GOAT. Somebody said, let's appreciate this and not make it political. I mean, it is political. It just is what it is. Read a few more. Kobe Bryant, though, man. Like, I thought that was pretty cool. Pretty cool. I think somebody else should be in place. It really wouldn't matter, man. There's so many heroes out here.
He also mentioned at the same time that there were going to be statues of Kobe Bryant and Muhammad Ali. So it just seems a little hypocritical that you would be doing everything in your power to sort of outlaw the teachings of what, say, a Muhammad Ali stood for. Like, are you going to tell people that he stood against war, that he stood against these very progressive civil rights issues? That doesn't seem to be the part of it. And what I noticed there from that clip is that he had to read letter by letter about what these people...
that he stood for these very progressive. The Ali family should check her. They should check her immediately. You damn right Ali stood for anti-war. You not for anti-war. No Democrat is for anti-war. I will not let them get away with pretend like they against war. Lady, you for war. Right now. You ain't stood against no war, but they use Ali. Then she said he stood for aggressive. He didn't stand for none of y'all liberal policies. I dare you pretend like Muhammad Ali stood for gay rights, for trans tampons in the boys' bathrooms. I dare you pretend like here for men getting married to men and women getting married to women. I dare you pretend and use Ali's name for your fucking talking point, Jamel Hill. That's disgusting. Ali would not be nowhere near the Democratic fucking party right now. Nowhere near. That's a fact, Jack.
People... what these great Americans have done in terms of progress for our country, because it's not something he's familiar with and not something that is natural for him. So I consider this to be an insult, a slap in the face. And frankly, all the people that attended this, look, I guess God bless you if you've never been to the White House and maybe you looked at it as some kind of great experience, but everything this president has stood for and done.
Now she big Boule. You never been to the White House. God bless you for going there. I've been there so many times. You see the attitude of these arrogant bastards? She didn't like Trump celebrating Black history because your ass Shoeshiner said that he was abolishing Black history. Y'all been telling Black people he hate Black history. Now he attend Black History Month, celebrate Black people. It's a problem to her. I dare you give Muhammad Ali a statue. Are you going to tell the people about Muhammad Ali? Man, bro, this shit pissed me the fuck off when I seen this shit, man.
In the last decade or so has been a complete rejection of what Black history is.
Abel, how do you square what Jamel is saying there, that this White House, this administration has spent so much time, especially in the last month, denigrating diversity as even a concept? And actually, let me just go ahead and play this because I think it's...
You see the smoke and mirror? We just talking about Black history, and then that she go diversity. Man, what the hell? We talking about Black history. What are you talking about diversity for? Why are you putting the two and two together? That's not. We didn't just celebrate Diversity History Month. We're not talking about Diversity History Month. They got to sneak in every fucking thing else. Make that part of our fucking struggle, bro, so they can get away with their scam on Black people.
Instructive to hear exactly what they have been saying. Listen.
Salute, family.
I think the single dumbest phrase in military history is our diversity is our strength.
My son is in a public school. He takes a class called African American History. If you're running an African American history class, could you perhaps be in violation of this court order, of this executive order?
I'm not quite certain, and I'd like to look into it further and get back to you on that.
You can have DEI.
You see what they just did? My son, he's in school in African history. You don't teach your son no African. I can guarantee you that man don't teach his son no fucking African history. That's so disgusting to me, bro. Like he give a fuck about African history. What about the African history? You gonna remove the African history, bro? And when he just said one of the worst things that in military terminology. Hold on, let's rewind that because I'm gonna tell you exactly. I'm gonna tell you exactly what he was saying, but they glossed over that. Let's go back to that.
In military history, is our diversity is our strength.
My son.
Nah, our diversity is my strength. You know what's so disgusting about that? Those people not sitting up there saying Black people being in the military is a weakness. They're talking about, when he says diversity, they don't want women as their fucking bosses, bro. They don't want trans cross-dressers as generals in the U.S. military. And that's disgusting that CNN pretend like they don't know that. They want Black people to figure, oh, they saying they don't want your ass in the U.S. military. Man, that's fucked up, bro. You know exactly what they're saying. They don't want women as they fucking bosses, and they don't want men wearing dresses leading the military. And you know that's what the fuck they talking about. That's what they saying. But CNN gonna trick Black people. See, they don't want you, Black people. Come back and vote Democrat.
Is in a public school. He takes a class called African American History. If you're running an African American history class, could you perhaps be in violation of this court order, of this executive order?
I'm not quite certain, and I'd like to look into it further.
Why you didn't ask her, would she be in violation if she cut out the drag queen reading hour at those schools? Why are you trying to pretend like it's not the gay, lesbian reading manuals in these schools that they're really talking about? But they don't want to say that because they're going to pretend like, because they, you know, you got to scare the shit out of Black people to get back in power. That's why you had this white man who never taught his son a goddamn thing about Black history, pretending like he's worried about Black history being taught. You know goddamn well they're trying to remove the pedophilia that y'all been teaching to these kids, cross-dressing, drag show, reading hour at these schools. But let's just pretend like it's the Black history that we got to protect.
And get back to you on that.
You can have DEI in water coolers and universities. I disagree with that. But lives aren't impacted with DEI at universities. It is impacted here. I just want the best and the brightest, keeping Americans safe.
Now, remember, DEI. Well, you think these white men don't know that 80% of the people hiding DEI was white women? You think these white men in power don't know that the 80% of the people who was hired with the DEI program was white women? They don't want white women over them or men in dresses, bro. But they're gonna pretend like it's Black people. Yes, some racists might mean that, but that's not the message. They're misleading Black people, bro. I ain't fooled.
Okay, so you say that, and then you throw a Black History Month event, and people are supposed to then say, well, it all doesn't matter. He really does care about the history of this country, which includes people. It's Black History Month today and this month, but it could be Hispanic History Month, Women's History Month, all these diverse people.
You see how disgusting that is, bro? You see how disgusting that is? See, Gay History Month, go ahead and say it, man. Training History Month, go ahead and say what you really want. Say what you really want. And you're using Black History Month as an excuse. Trump celebrates Black History Month, but will he celebrate Trans History Month? How does he feel about Women's Birth History Month? The right to have abortion History Month. Will he go for that? This is what they really want. But waving Black people around as the fucking sock puppets, that shit is disgusting to me.
Absolutely.
What are Americans supposed to think?
I mean, look, President Trump is not a traditional politician. I mean, he never has been. He never will be. So today, when we saw the celebration in the White House, I thought that was a beautiful ceremony. I thought it was a packed house there. I mean, Tiger Woods, I can go on and on of all the people that were there. He made it very clear today, Abby. He said, Black Americans are legends. I'm going to put some statues up. Kobe Bryant.
But he's governing in exactly the opposite way.
I think what he's trying to do is, on one end, he knows he's got a huge deficit. He's trying to make cuts and move the business, this big government forward.
I'm not talking about the cuts. I'm talking about the denigration of people based on this idea of DEI. They tried to blame the plane crash on diversity.
Yeah, I don't.
You see that? They tried to blame the plane crash on diversity. Yeah, because they say the white woman was driving it, who wasn't, and she wasn't a skilled white woman. Why don't you tell the people the truth? They didn't say the plane crashed because Black people was driving it. They say you had a white woman driving who wasn't qualified to have the job. You know what them white men see. They know what the white men are saying, but they want Black people to feel like, see, they always insulting you. That's why she said, that's why you use DEI. See, they're going after DEI. Yeah, they don't want white women and men in dresses over them. Oh, that's a problem. White women got the right to be their boss, and men got the right to wear dresses and be their boss. Man, well, say that shit.
I don't actually agree with that, to be very sincere with you. I think he looks at DEI more of a, let's put that aside and let's do everything on merit. He's made it very clear. He's talked about merit all along. So I really think, Abby, that what happened today was a beautiful thing.
So I don't. So I think he's trying to gaslight us. I mean, come on, man. You have got to be kidding.
So if he didn't have it today, you would be back.
He's trying to gaslight us. First, he said he doesn't want anybody in government to celebrate Black History Month. And then he says, okay, I'm going to put on an event about Black History Month, and I'm going to be the speaker. There aren't any Black people, really saying anything about what's happening with him. He tried to use DEI as literally a racial slur against us, as if Black people are benefiting from anything in this country and getting anything we're not qualified for and don't have to work twice as hard for. Black people have to live in the real world. When the cops come, we're scared because we might not come out of it alive. We walk into a store, if they let us in, we're followed around. We don't get loans when we have the same credit score as everybody else because we're Black. We have to live in the
I'm sick of these shoes. That man ain't never been harassed by no police. Cops, don't nobody follow him around no motherfucking store. I'm tired of these people using real shit that go on in our daily lives for shit. This uppity ass nigga ain't nowhere near no crime. Always been on the right side of police. But he act like he living in fear. And Trump don't understand the fear that a Black man has in racist America. Man, this is absolutely outrageous. You see, you can't do nothing. Trump these the niggas who said Trump was finna erase Black history and you couldn't have no Black History Month celebrations. He celebrate Black History Month. See, he's gaslighting us. These coons never happen. You can't make these shoe shiners happy. Why? Because they have been indoctrinated not to be happy and to make sure we could never be happy. Don't even think about being happy. Why? Because you're going to get killed by the cops. You're going to get locked up. Yes, but guess what? You don't have to worry about it because they're going to make sure you got some food stamps and some low-income housing. You understand that? And abortion clinic in a city near you. So you don't have to bring no babies in here to be scared.
We know reality when we see it. This is not real. This is a joke. That's what that is.
I mean, personally, Tiger Woods was speaking at the podium today.
Tiger Woods said he's Globalism.
Right. I thought he would be there for a combination.
Come on, man.
See, that's disgusting. You see what he just said? Now they said Tiger Woods ain't a black man. He said he blazing. But these the motherfuckers told us Kamala Harris was a black woman. They say Tiger, oh, you fell for that trap. I waited on you to say that. I waited on them to say Tiger Woods ain't a black man. I waited on Tiger Woods' daddy is a black man from America, descendant of a slave. Tiger Woods' pops. Kamala can't say that. And they told us she was a black woman. Now you see how they act? Well, Tiger ain't a black man. That's what they just said. That's disgusting. They should have to apologize for that colorism that they just tried to display. Tiger ain't a black man. But Kamala is a black woman? And Obama Indian, her daddy is Indian too and white? Oh, we've been through this. Her daddy is not no fucking Jamaican. Let's stop the bullshit. Just because you live in Jamaica don't make you Jamaican. Disrespectful ass house niggas. I knew y'all was gonna do that. I knew they were gonna try to go after Tiger for not being black. How could they ever, when they just championed an Indian lady as the first black president?
So, one of the things
Female black
apparently
president.
the Defense Department's getting ready to make some cuts. We talked about it earlier. One of the cuts rumored to be happening is of CQ Brown, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
Good. Get rid of that.
Shockingly,
get rid of him.
Man. This is not surprising to me because I know.
Get rid of him. Yes, he not qualified for that goddamn job. What has he done? What has he done? But go along with the Ukraine war, cuddle up to Zelensky. He need to go. You see how they do? Trump talking about cutting the fat. Oh, a black man on child black. So what? White people is too. Cross dressers is too. So what? Because like I said in the beginning, I've been looking at what's going on in America. I see the videos. It's all kind of white people crying. They lost their job. I'm losing food stamps. I'm losing my low-income housing. Those ain't black people. I thought Trump was just doing it to black people. Oh, pay no attention to the evidence. Listen to us.
Conversation in MAGA world.
Everybody Trump going after everybody.
The idea that maybe one of the first acts of the new defense secretary would be to ask the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who is a black man who a Republican senator just today said has done a very good job.
That's a lot.
And he would be surprised to hear if he were eliminated in some of these cuts.
What good job has he done? See, no, we can't go for this. I know his record. Good job. He lives in the Ukraine war horribly. Good job. Russia just kept his bases in Syria. You couldn't get those Syrian bases. Good job. You got kicked out of Niger, $100 million drone base they took from us inside with Russia. Where's the good job at? I'm waiting to see why this man making millions of dollars and probably got a $10 million package at a weapons contract facility when he get out. You see, this black lady not finna sit on TV and act like this black man deserves to keep his job because he black. That's what the fuck the problem is. Just because he black, he get to be the leader of the military? Fuck no. Where are your wins at, brother? What have you done to keep us safe? Nothing. What have you done? That's bullshit. No, hell no. He got to go. He got to go too.
Cuts. Kevin Kramer said a month ago that he knows CQ Brown pretty well.
You see? No, back up, lady. I almost called this lady something else. Oh, goodness. Oh, I don't want that on tape. I almost called you something, lady. Back up. He was vouched for by a white man. You see what I'm saying? No, a senator white man said that this my boy. My color shouldn't be fired. You can't fire my color, Trump. He's been doing what we told him to do. Man, Shoeshiner gotta go. He gotta go. Huh? But I just want y'all to see the picture. She's saying this man vouched for. See this white man right here? He vouched for him. He's saying he's doing an excellent job. This man, the Boule. Remember, he's the Boule. Done nothing for black people. Nothing. He's not pushing for reparations. He's not championing for blacks to stop being killed around America. He's not standing up to racist military officials. He ain't said racism is running rampant through the U.S. military. He ain't said shame on the U.S. military for killing innocent people all over this goddamn globe. What the fuck do I give a fuck if they fire him for? Why? I don't shed no tears.
Said a month ago that he knows CQ Brown pretty well. They've had disagreements, but he thinks he's doing a great job. Why would this even be a conversation?
Well, I think Hegseth has sort of changed his tune on it a bit. They seem to be working together in the early onset, right after his confirmation. He gave him a vote of approval out loud to the press corps. So we'll see what happens. I'm not going to jump to a conclusion on that. And also, I hope that even if we that if we have political disagreements with somebody in history, a figure of history, we can still recognize their greatness. And I think that's very important. So I was glad to see Donald Trump highlight, yes, great athletes, but yes, Rosa Parks, yes, Frederick Douglass. I think that's great. And we can have the debate over DEI, and I think I can go in a million different directions. I think when it comes to the celebration of Black history, I think the president's signal today was he doesn't want to see it erased from our conversation in our country.
But that's not what his actions say.
Liars.
Where's Alice? Boy, are you incredible.
Ooh,
I
really
watched
hot
you on
about
last
this,
night
y'all.
on television. You were so good. You know, Alice was in prison for doing something that today probably wouldn't even be prosecuted. She spent 22 years in prison, 22 years. She had another 22 years left. Can you believe it? And I pardoned her, and it was one of the best pardons. One of the best pardons.
This man, I didn't even know that part. Damn, this dude a legend. This man just made a Black lady who was in prison for 22 years. He pardoned. He just made her the pardon czar. She gonna be over pardons while he's the president. Remember I told you earlier, I just knew that he made a Black woman the pardon czar. And I told y'all, what you think he doing that for? So she can go make sure she give righteous people pardons. I didn't know he had pardoned her and she know about the system. Come on. Where the fucking haters who say Donald Trump don't like Black people? He's a racist. What racist will make a Black woman free her and then make her a pardon czar so she can free other people? Come on, bro. I'm not letting them get away with this shit.
You know what she was on? She happened to be on the wrong telephone line.
Hold on, revolutionary salute to our family. What that is? Eli 313-100 for the donation to the war chest. Revolution is way of life. Absolutely appreciate the love, family. Salute to you. This is legendary, bro. This is legendary, bro. I'm gonna have to do a whole video just on this woman and what the hell happened with this situation.
Is that true?
People saying Trump ain't hiding no Black people. Well, the lady who over pardons. You want to free innocent people out of prison? You got to be in position. Trump just put her in position.
Telephone call, and I'm not saying it was perfect, but it wasn't worth 40 or 50 years, Alice. And you've been an inspiration to people. And we're going to be listening to your recommendation on pardons. You're going to go over, and she's going to be my pardon czar. Okay. And
Crazy,
you're going to
bro.
find people just like you that should not have happened.
Come on, man. He said he telling her, I want you to go back in prison. I want you to find people just like you. Now he can't say Black. It's controversial. She gonna look out for her people. Now all people gonna get love. We're not here to just help Black people. But you think she's not gonna go find it in that? If your ass committing crimes and you supposed to be in prison, you're not gonna get free. But it's some people who been done unjustly. Why Biden didn't do this, huh? He loved Black people so much. Why Barack Obama didn't do this? You love us, right, Obama? Why you didn't appoint somebody you free, a Black person you free from prison, who know about the hardships of prison? They talk about prison. They talk about prison justice reform. Why is it Trump who did the First Step Act and brought a lot of these Black people home? I mean, why is it Trump? Why is it Trump doing this? Now, why is it Trump let this lady free from prison after 22 years for some BS and then put her over making sure other people can come home? That's legendary.
It should not have happened. So you're going to look and you're going to make recommendations, and I'll follow those recommendations, okay, for pardons, all right?
That's like a dream to that one. They didn't make a movie about that. 22 years in prison. That's hard time, bro. It's hard in prison for 22 motherfucking years. Trump pardon you. Now you over. That's like, damn, that's like the slave becoming the vizier to the king. Like you next to the king now. That's crazy. I'm not saying she's no slave or nothing.
President Trump taps
use
a
that as
Mid-South
analogy.
woman to a newly named position in his administration. He announced today Alice Marie Johnson of Memphis will be his new pardon czar, a woman who says it is nothing short of a miracle she would go from a jailhouse to the White House.
She spent 22 years in prison, 22 years. She had another 22 years left. Can you believe it? And I pardoned her, and it was one of the best pardons.
President Donald Trump created a new position in his administration and tapped Alice Marie Johnson to head it. Just hours ago, he announced the Memphis woman would be the nation's first pardon czar.
I'm not only humble, I'm very proud to serve the community that really I came from the incarcerated community.
Johnson, arrested in 1993, was serving a life sentence for a drug conviction. Kim Kardashian pleaded her case, and Trump commuted her sentence, freeing her from prison. She received a full pardon and had the conviction wiped from her record eventually. Since then, she's been advocating for others.
I submitted over 100 clemency and pardon petitions to the White House after I gained my own freedom. So to be trusted in a position like this to serve the nation, all communities, is really a privilege for me.
Details of how she'll carry out her new position are still being worked out, but she begins work immediately.
It's very important to me to make sure that those who are released from prison also have a structure set up so that they can be successful in their new lives. One of the things that's very important to me is to have safe communities.
And I asked Johnson about the pardons for those involved in the January 6th riots, and she said they were carefully thought out and contends some of those incarcerated behind the event did not belong there.
Man, I'm trying to ask that lady about that shit. She ain't got nothing to do with that. This is Elon Musk putting a hit on Zelensky, right? Now, anybody who's been paying attention to the Ukraine story, you know American journalist Gonzalo Lira was killed by the neo-Nazis in Ukraine. And he did a video, I played it, telling us he was going to be killed if he wasn't helped by the Americans. Joe Biden let him down. Nobody helped the man. The man died in the Ukrainian prison. Now, Elon Musk, after Zelensky played with Trump, which he should have never did, that was a big mistake. Now you have Elon Musk pushing the story, it's all over social media, that Zelensky killed this U.S. citizen in prison. That's what dictators do, and they're making that a fact. Zelensky is a dictator. Zelensky pays his number. The worst thing he could ever did was challenge Trump in public. That's over for him. Now, what they showing, and what they really saying is, while we keep hearing Putin tortures journalists and Putin kills this or that or third, they're telling you, here's Zelensky, who's supposed to be not a dictator. They say Putin a dictator. Here's Zelensky, who Trump said was a dictator, who they're saying is responsible for this American. Now, who was Gonzalo Lira? He really was a YouTuber. He was on YouTube gaining fame because as the Ukrainian war went on, he was in Ukraine. He was in Kharkov, married to a Ukrainian woman. He was telling the truth the whole time about what Zelensky and those Nazis really was doing. Zelensky didn't like that. So here you have evidence that a man was arrested for freedom of speech. He just was blogging like me. That's like if I was in Ukraine, they would arrest me and then I'd die in prison for telling the truth about the neo-Nazis. Well, that's what they did to this man. That's what dictators do. But the fact that he was an American and Joe Biden and them didn't say shit and let it happen, that's disgusting. But now it's coming back out.
Pissed off because over the past few days, we've seen a flood of misinformation about the Ukraine war, particularly from neocons, liberals, warmongers in Washington, D.C., who are twisting President Trump's recent comments about Ukraine, starting the war. Remember, he said this the other night? Zelensky being a dictator. He said that yesterday, and he doubled down on it again today, which he is. So those two things have really made warmongers and neocons and liberals upset. These neocons, liberals, and morons desperately want the war to continue, and they desperately want you to believe Ukrainian dictator Zelensky is a hero after President Trump called him out as a dictator who cancels elections and persecutes Christians in his country. It all came to a boiling point, though, on Wednesday when President Trump said Ukraine was responsible for the start of the war. He's 100% correct, except he left out the part where the CIA played a critical role in starting the war, using Ukraine as a proxy. But nevertheless, that hasn't stopped the backlash. The backlash has been swift. Neocons like Nikki Haley posting this. These are classic Russian talking points, Nikki Haley says. Exactly what Putin wants. Of course, she absolutely wants to continue this war. She was pushing vehemently for it. Thankfully, President Trump listened to Tucker Carlson, who vehemently told him, do not make her a part of your administration. She's a warmonger. Backstabber in chief Mike Pence posted this. Mr. President, Ukraine did not start this war. Russia launched an unprovoked, brutal invasion, claiming hundreds of thousands of lives. The road to peace must be built on the truth. Russia invades Ukraine in largest year. Anyway, so he's saying this is Ukraine did not start this war. And hundreds of prominent neocons, liberals, warmongers losing their minds, saying Trump is using Putin's talking points or calling him a Putin puppet like this today in the Daily Star. Look at that. Putin's poodle. Orange man baby blames Ukraine for being what?
You know what they're doing here. They're thinking that if they embarrass President Trump enough, he will walk back this. I mean, it's a stupid method. It never worked, not during the first administration. But this seems one level past. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Janine Shaner in our chat says it wasn't unprovoked. Exactly. Because you watch our show. You're intelligent. But there are a lot of morons out there today, and you can see them all over X. Then they want you to believe a distorted version of history, but the truth is far from different. So let's break it down. To understand the origins of this war, we need to go back to 2014. And if you want, we could even go back earlier to the expansion of NATO, Bill Clinton, 1994. But let's stick with 2014 here, okay? The year a CIA-backed coup overthrew Ukraine's democratically elected government. The Maidan protests in Kiev, which started as political unrest with paid and trained CIA terrorists and thugs, quickly escalated into violence on purpose. The CIA is very good at that, by the way, infiltrating groups, carrying out color revolutions. And on this pivotal day in Maidan Square, dozens of people killed in the square. But what was really happening behind the scenes, the Western-backed intelligence community was actively fomenting this coup using CIA-paid agitators for months.
Which we knew and were confirmed by the Victoria Nuland call that was leaked to the press, in which she actively talked about planning this. Victoria Nuland of the U.S. State Department.
Yes. So these protests were used as a pretext to install a pro-Western puppet government. Once in power, this new regime turned its sights on Eastern Ukraine. It's no longer Eastern Ukraine. It's now a part of Russia. But at the time, it was Eastern Ukraine and Crimea, where a significant Russian-speaking population lived. Ukrainian forces launched attacks on these regions, leading to the deaths of tens of thousands of people, innocent civilians, innocent children. That's what we call a genocide. In Crimea, Russian troops were already stationed there. They were able to thwart the attack, and the Ukrainian troops that were stationed there defected to the Russian military. 80% of them did that. 80% were like, we don't want to be a part of We want to be a part of that, those guys, not these guys that are trying to kill us. They had a referendum vote, by the way. And in fact, the official who held that vote was Ukrainian. And they voted to join Russia of their own free will. It was not what Barack Obama told us, an invasion of Crimea. They were already there. This was a lie, a bald-faced lie. But of course, the media runs with it, and then that propaganda gets, it proliferates, right? So Eastern Ukraine was not so lucky. In fact, they were jealous of Crimea and wondered why Russia hadn't taken control of them as well. What about us here in Donetsk and Donbas? Time magazine was willing to cover it at the time. Look at this. Many Ukrainians want Russia to invade.
The
Time
date
magazine.
stamp, 2014.
Yes, look at the date on the byline there.
Hello, Rob. Can I get a quick audio test from you, please?
Check, check. 1, 2. Yeah. 1, 2.
Gotcha. Thank you,
got
sir.
me? Thank you. You're welcome. This is Clayton. So many Ukrainians want Russia to invade. That's what the Time magazine cover said. Many Ukrainians want Russia to invade, but Russia didn't invade. A Venezuela journalist covering this genocide long before the Ukraine war broke out explained it this way. Take a look. Venezuelan journalist in Donbas. Kiev tries to kill as many people as possible. This was before the Ukrainian war broke out that we know in the media as like the Zelensky as Ukrainian war. This was well before that. This was well before that, these headlines. Venezuelan journalists who were there covering it. Ukraine tries to kill as many people as possible in their indiscriminate attacks in the Donbas. So they were doing this openly, killing children on the playground, dropping petal mines, these little petal mines that look like leaves. Great journalist Eva Bartlett has covered this extensively, where these little kids will go up because they look like leaves. And like, what is this? Oh, and they pick them up and their hands blow off, face blows off, killed. This was not a civil dispute. It was a targeted military campaign against ethnic Russians who resisted the new CIA-backed leadership. Even CNN, buried in its archives, reported on these attacks. But the mainstream narrative conveniently ignores this. So CNN had a whole report about this. And it's remarkable to watch. It's a little bit long, but they covered the destruction of the CIA and the Western-backed governments in Donbas.
Petro Poroshenko will have a hard time winning back hearts and minds in this city. As the people of Donetsk sweep up the debris of their homes and livelihoods, they are hardened against a president they say is killing his own people. We are Ukrainian, but they kill us, this man says. So we probably need our own country, because these people in Kiev, they are not brothers for us. The shells hit these homes days ago, but the tears are still fresh.
We live underground. It was so hard for 2 weeks, especially for 27, 28, 29. But only today it's quiet. Sorry, I need to go.
So meanwhile, behind the scenes, the CIA was expanding its influence, setting up multiple field offices throughout Ukraine. Even the New York Times did a deep dive in 2024 on these CIA bases throughout Ukraine. Here's the front page story in the New York Times. These intelligence hubs were coordinated ongoing operations, ensuring that the conflict remained active while relentless attacks on civilians in the Donbas region were unfolding. The goal? To provoke Russia into action while securing Ukraine as a proxy for Western interests. Would it work? Would Putin take the bait? Well, this is where the Minsk Accords come in, of course. Agreements meant to bring peace to the region, but as former German Chancellor Angela Merkel later admitted, the West never actually intended to honor them at all. It was a joke. It was like propaganda. So Putin fell for it. And he admitted he fell for it. He thought that they actually meant to go along with that. These agreements were nothing more than a stalling tactic, a deception used to buy time while Ukraine was armed and fortified for an eventual confrontation with Russia. President Putin repeatedly urged adherence to the Minsk Accords to prevent further bloodshed. Hey, stop killing these people in eastern Ukraine. Stop killing children. Stop just bombing markets, schools, playgrounds. Wouldn't that be a good idea? But his warnings were ignored. The genocide continued, and then 2019 hit. Zelensky was a peace candidate. He vowed to end the genocide war in eastern Ukraine. He vowed to stop the killing of his own people. Sure, they spoke Russian, but they were Ukrainian. They lived there for decades. However, very quickly after the election, Zelensky did not make good on his promise to end the war in Donbas. This was the single biggest reason he was elected in the spring of 2019. Did you know that?
Yes.
Did you, all of you watching, did you know that? He was a peace candidate. He ran on ending their genocide in eastern Ukraine. But why did he back down? Why did he back down on this? Because there are a lot of nationalist neo-Nazis in Ukraine. The largest number, in fact, of Nazis in the world live in Ukraine. Even NBC
Let's
News.
not gloss over that. Let's not just gloss over the fact that the largest concentration of Nazis in the world are in Ukraine. Why the hell is America funding the largest concentration of Nazis, giving them advanced weapons that Hitler only could dream of having? Hitler only wish he could have some of the shit that we gave to the Nazis in Ukraine. But these bastards say they don't like racists. That's a lie. Joe Biden is the descendant of slave owners. He'd love for the whites to rise up again.
Before the modern war broke out, openly put this in their headlines. Ukraine's Nazi problem is real.
And the Israeli government warned the U.S. State Department, we think you should...
The neo-Nazis in Ukraine say they fighting on behalf of the white race to restore order on behalf of the white race.
Could help take a look at this Nazi problem in Ukraine.
So Israel was warning about the Nazi problem in Ukraine. So was the Daily Mail. So were many publications about the Nazi problem in Ukraine. Now we forget about it. We ignore it. And in fact, in Canada, they invite neo-Nazis to stand up and get applause lines in front of the Canadian Parliament, which they did under Trudeau. Anyway, Ukraine's neo-Nazi problem is real. And here in that photo, you can see the proud neo-Nazi Azov battalion that are still hugely influential, running the military in Ukraine. So Zelensky said he was going to stop the killing of ethnic Russians in eastern Ukraine. He went to the front lines where these Nazis were carrying out this genocide, and they quickly tried to overthrow him. He quickly backed down. He tried to stare the Nazis down, basically, but he's a small man, and he was trying to tell them to stop fighting, and they told him to shut the F up, and it was all caught on camera. Watch.
О том, что демилитаризация, украинский кордон, мы бы хотели это все обсудить и формализировать, чтобы потом не было как у Петра Алексеевича.
Ты со мной хочешь формализировать отношения?
В меморандуме.
Я с тобой?
Не я с вами, а все люди, которые в этом процессе, те, которым болит за Украину.
Как капитуляция, прошу так.
Формализация.
Я пришел, тебе сказал, вы оружие вывезете, а ты меня переводишь стрелки.
Так я вам второй момент уже озвучил. Я вас услышал, вы сказали.
Ты мне вообще не можешь никакой ультиматум озвучивать, Денис, ты не понял.
Так я вам ультиматум, я говорю, это были люди.
Нам за эти оружие забрать?
При чем здесь? Я вам говорю за второй момент.
Сейчас разговор.
Так мы нормально общаемся.
Ну так и давай нормально общаться.
Ну, никто же вас не пытается макнуть
никуда.
Вам передали то, что происходило в Украине, то, что люди
еще... Кто мне передал? Я же тебе говорю, ты мне скажи,
Так я вам говорю, по Украине были акции.
Денис, по Украине вчера прошел дождь, вот что я слышу.
Ну, так я вам рассказываю о том, что происходило.
Где акции? Кто мне что передал? Говорю, давай, что ты...
Вот я вам и говорю, что люди хотят встречи с вами.
Какие люди? Нет,
которые вышли на мероприятие под...
Фамилию ты можешь мне сказать или нет? Ты что ты все время...
Ну, хотите, Плеханов, Кухарчук, ну, это по разным областям.
Денис, это же так не делается.
Ну, так не, ну, так спросили, я
подожди,
передал.
Вышел стадник.
Yeah, they're all friends there, right?
Yeah.
Having conversation with Nazis. You need to stop the killing of the ethnic Russians in eastern Ukraine. And the Nazis are like, no, sorry, we're going to keep doing that. We like doing that. So he backed down. Zelensky declared support for stopping that war in 2019. But large-scale neo-Nazi street protests led by nationalist thugs threatening to overthrow him, he quickly backed down, never returning to the issue again. And he allowed his military to continue the genocide in violation of the Minsk Accords with Russia. And now, years later, the same people who helped create this war are acting outraged at Trump for stating the obvious, that Ukraine started this conflict. The facts back him up. The war didn't begin in 2022. It began in 2014 at the latest, when the U.S. and its allies helped overthrow Ukrainian's government and turn the country into a battleground for their own geopolitical goals, provoking Putin into invading eastern Ukraine and protecting the people who were under a 10-year genocide. It's time to cut through the propaganda and tell the truth about what actually happened in Ukraine.
Well, I also take issue with this provoking Putin into invading eastern Ukraine. There is nuance there as well, because Russian parliament voted for a special military operation at the request of those regions in eastern Ukraine.
And actually, so Putin didn't want to do it.
Yes, it was not his personal pet that, ooh, I'm going to take over the world.
Zelensky a dictator. Here's his Truth Social post. I'll read it to you. He says, think of it, a modestly successful comedian. I thought he was talking about me. Zelensky talked to the United States of America into spending $350 billion. First of all, nobody has to talk America into spending money on a war that couldn't be won. We've been doing that over and over and over since World War II. Also, so I wouldn't put that on Zelensky. He didn't have to talk us into that. A war that couldn't be won, that never had to start, but a war that he, without the U.S. and Trump, would never be able to settle. The United States has spent $200 billion more than Europe, and Europe's money is guaranteed, while the United States will get nothing back. Why didn't Sleepy Joe demand equalization, in that this war is far more important to Europe than it is to us? We have a big, beautiful ocean separation. On top of this, Zelensky admits that half the money we send him is missing. He refuses to have elections. First of all, Yeah, he does. He's very low in Ukrainian polls, and the only thing he was good at was playing Biden like a fiddle. Okay, I have to fact check that again. Zelensky didn't play Biden like a fiddle. Anthony Blinken stuck his hand up to Biden's ass and worked him like a puppet. That's what happened. Okay.
Well, we need to understand something, though. I know you don't want to compete with Zelensky, but you really can't, because he's the only man in the world that can play the piano with his private member. And unless you want to go him one better, I mean, that's your privilege. But no, this guy is a crook. What else is new?
So he calls him a dictator. He calls him a dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast, or he is not going to have a country left. In the meantime, we are successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia, something I'll admit only Trump and the Trump administration can do. Biden never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelensky probably wants to keep the gravy train going. I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered, and millions have unnecessarily died, and so it continues. Well, that is all true.
Well, there's something else here that President Trump doesn't say, but is in the background, and we all need to understand it. Ukraine is a metaphor for globalism. And what you're seeing is the globalist war in Washington, Paris, London, these other capitals where the ruling elites have all joined the globalism campaign. In other words, let's create the new utopian world where we all live under one world government, where we're all obedient to whatever world organizations say, whether it's World Health or something else, where there are no borders, where there is no national identity, there is no religion, there is no morality. It's whatever we say is right. All of these things are part of the war. And why? Because the globalists saw Russia from the very beginning under Putin as a terrible threat to globalism, because Putin said, we are a Russian Orthodox Christian country. We rest on a foundation that is 1,000 years old. We have a religion, a way of life, an identity as Russians, and we are not going anywhere. And that's what he said. And no one wants to hear that, because look what we have managed to do in Europe. Look what has happened to Germany, France, Italy. I mean, Italy is making a modest recovery thanks to Giorgia Meloni. God bless her. But France, 1 in every 4 adults or 5 adults is a Muslim. And the city of Paris is overrun with non-French. The French cannot assimilate all of these people. The Germans can't assimilate them. Britain can't assimilate them. This is a problem. Why are they there? To destroy those societies.
So I'm going to ask you that question you just asked about, because, Keir Starmer, I showed a video of him in 2020 who was promoting open borders, and it was saying that immigrants aren't our problem and you're a racist if you think having this on. And then now, just a month or so ago, he came out and demanded answers about this open border policy, as if he wasn't the one pushing it. So it happened not only in the UK, but it happened all over France and why? What is that about? Is that just the globalists trying to destabilize countries?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. It's not just to destabilize them, it's to transform them. In other words, to eradicate national identity, national culture, national language, supplant all of that with this amorphous mass of people who at some point in the future will all live in perfect harmony in the utopian globalist community. And by the way, they'll all be ruled by the globalist ruling elite. And there won't be any more elections that mean anything, because those elections will be rigged. I mean, that's happening in Germany right now. They're keeping the AfD, Alternative for Germany, which they continually describe as far right, which I throw up, and then sometimes I laugh when I hear that, because none of these people ever knew any real communists or real Nazis. These people are moderate people. All they've said is, we think Germany should survive. We think borders should be defended. We think unwanted illegal migrants should be expelled. We want the rule of law. We want a halt to the criminality. Gee, those are really radical ideas, aren't they? Aren't we asking for the same thing?
Well,
this is crazy.
Well, isn't it funny that the mainstream media, the ruling elite in Europe, they're all warning about this extremism from the right wing, the AfD. They're extremists and they're far right. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're currently imprisoning people who speak out against a genocide that's happening in Gaza, while at the same time you're funding legit Nazis in Ukraine, and you're calling somebody else extreme right-wingers?
Yeah, well, these people, I don't like calling them globalists. I do, but I really think they're Bolsheviks. They're like the anarchistic Bolsheviks of 1918 and 1919 who swept into power in the Soviet Union. And they said there are no more Russians, Ukrainians, no more Lithuanians, Latvians, Estonians, no more Kazakhs, no more Uzbeks. We're all Soviet people now. And we're building the new Soviet man. And our first act is to invade Poland and other countries in Europe so that we can Sovietize them and they can become part of the same community. It's too close for comfort. And Starmer is probably one of the best, but not the only examples. We've got them here in our country too.
Yeah, well, so this idea to do this, to flood Europe with immigration and to dilute its population and to create it also creates people fighting each other instead of coming together to fight the globalists, right? So they I always have to remind people, if you're upset at someone lower on the economic ladder than you, pretty good chance you've been manipulated by someone higher on the economic ladder than you. And that's the game. So that's another, the chaos always favors the establishment is what I try to remind people. And that's what they're trying to create, chaos. They're trying to dilute cultures. And yeah, it seems like a globalist agenda. And
keep in mind,
go ahead.
Keep in mind, Jimmy, the establishment is opposed to the people living in their country. In other words, Starmer is busy at war with the people who are British. He doesn't want to prosecute rape gangs because these rape gangs are constituted from young Pakistani men, sometimes others, but usually that. And they're gang raping English girls, and they line up for the opportunity to do this. This is not unique to England. This has happened in Germany. It's happened in Sweden. It's happening in France. And who is the problem? It's the local Frenchman, the local Englishman, the local German. Oh no, shut up! You have to be tolerant. You're immoderate. Oh, you are a racist. Not that this is our country. We live here. We have a culture, a way of life. We have laws. And we didn't say no one could come here. We simply said, if you come here, you must adapt and obey our laws.
The problem that the Europeans have, and these guys are descendants of Europeans, you reap what you sow. You can't get away from what you've done. Your sins are coming back to haunt you. Britain is a fictitious place full of immigrants from other places. They're still an empire who holds Scottish people and all kind of other people up under their thumb. But you destroyed the Islamic world and it's coming back to hunt you. You see, right now, the U.S., you're destroying the South American civilizations and it comes back to hunt you. This has been done. They destroyed our civilizations. They destroyed the civilizations in Africa. This is not new. They pretend like this is new. They act like a bunch of Europeans, different elite immigrants didn't come to America and destroy the way of life that was already supplanted here. Destroyed it and kept on bringing more and more immigrants. So what's happening to Europe? Your sins is coming back on you. This is what you did to other nations. Rape is wrong, but your ancestors committed this act of atrocity. What's happening to you is what your ancestors did all over the globe. So that's one thing they got to realize too. And a part of it is stop warring and stop destroying civilizations, and you might have something left when it all said and done. Because you got to pay for your sins.
This is insanity on stilts. So, because the first thing that the communists did was murder millions of their own people long before they murdered anybody else.
See, it's real easy to say the communists. Who started communism? Who are the inventors of that way of thought? Bolsheviks. Yeah, who are those Bolsheviks? Who are they? Come on, bro. It's the small hats. That's exactly who it is.
So that's the connection you make between Bolsheviks and globalists, right? That they're enemy of their own people in a way.
And
yes, and they want
globalists. I used to always hear Alex Jones talk about the globalists. I like the globalists. You're talking about they're talking about the small hats. Those are the globalists. the international bankers. Oh, you're talking about the small hats, the people who own it. Oh, you're talking about them. See, they dress them up in these different names because they don't want to say who they really are. But it's the same individuals who keep repeating the same thing, and they wonder why. Why is this civilization? Why is this happening to us? And then see, some of these they won't do it, but some of these same people will say they're destroying the white man, and all that, and then say more money to Israel. Israel got the right to defend themselves. Oh, well, you don't know who's doing this to you, right?
Absolute, unquestioned obedience from the population and total control.
And so don't you also think that that was part of the reason that France, UK, and the United States overturned Gaddafi in Libya, was because Gaddafi always thought that he was safe in a sense because he was the firewall between immigration from Africa into Europe. And I don't think he ever expected them that they would want it. And
well, remember, Gaddafi also warned us collectively in the West and said, if you do not find a way to cultivate economic growth, job creation, production, and other things here in North Africa and the Middle East, you will get this tremendous migration because people will leave and go north. Now, that's what Gaddafi said. So suddenly we get rid of Gaddafi? It is a strange question, isn't it? I can't connect it 100%. But he was being very honest at that point. By the way, he had also gotten rid of all his chemical weapons.
Right.
He dropped all the nuclear stuff. I mean, quite frankly, if I were anywhere in the world threatened by the United States, or anybody else right now from the West, I think I'd probably go down to the basement and build my own nuke. And I would look at Gaddafi as that's an example of what happens to you when you don't have one. I mean, this is the sort of stupidity that we have created that is spreading across the world. We say, well, Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Okay, what happens to Iran without a nuclear weapon?
Right. That's exactly right. So Donald Trump, do you have to go?
No, not yet. No,
okay.
I'm good for another 5 minutes.
Okay, so Donald Trump said this, he wants on elections. Here, let's hear.
We're hearing that Russia wants to force Ukraine to hold new elections in order to sign any kind of a peace deal. Is that something that the U.S. would ever support?
Well, we have a situation where we haven't.
First of all, there's a little bit of deception in that question when she says they want to force them to have new elections. There hasn't been any elections since Zelensky got to power. Just so
right.
It's not about new. It's an election. Okay, here's what Trump says.
Had elections in Ukraine. Well, we have martial law, essentially martial law in Ukraine, where the leader in Ukraine, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating, and where a country has been blown to smithereens. You got most of the cities are laying on their sides. The buildings are collapsed. It looks like a massive demolition site. The whole, I mean, so many of the cities. I mean, they haven't done it in Kiev because I guess they don't want to shoot too many rockets in there. They've done it 20%, but they haven't done it 100%. If they wanted to do it 100%, it would probably happen very quickly. But you have cities that are absolutely decimated. And yeah, I would say that, you know, when they want a seat at the table, you could say the people have to, wouldn't the people of Ukraine have to say, like, you know, it's been a long time since we've had an election. That's not a Russia thing. That's something coming from me and coming from many other countries also.
So do you think, I mean, it is amazing that he's just kind of appointed himself dictator. He's gotten rid of the opposition newspaper, the opposition parties, and he's canceled the elections. So what would you like to say to Donald Trump saying that they're going to force elections on them?
Well, first of all, suspend that military aid immediately. Whatever is going over there needs to stop now. No more cash to this regime, not a dime. Get all of the Americans who are inside Ukraine out. Turn to the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. They have monitored and conducted elections for decades all over Europe and even beyond Europe as observers. Get them into the game. Stop that nonsense and say you need to bring observers into the country to supervise elections. But while you're doing that, you need to deliver humanitarian aid. Instead of sending bullets and bombs and so forth, the Ukrainian people need humanitarian assistance. Just as we see people in Gaza that need to be fed, need to be clothed, need medical care and so forth. That's needed now in Western Ukraine. It absolutely must be there. Those should be the top priorities, and let them run this thing. Can an election be held? Yes, of course it can. And I think the Russians want to make sure that whatever government they meet with is legitimate, because they know that Zelensky's regime is not legitimate. That's why it was extremely wise of President Trump to exclude them from any discussion with the Russians right now. So now, are there some Ukrainians sitting in Russia who could come back into Ukraine and participate in the elections? Of course there are. You know, some people will say, well, they're all spies for Russia. I don't think they are. There are a lot of Ukrainians living in Russia. We forget that something in the neighborhood of 2 million Ukrainians left Ukraine and went to Russia when the war started. Now, will other Ukrainians come back who are overseas? I don't know. Many of them may not, but some will. So we ought to be interested in getting the Ukrainians back into Ukraine, because there's something like 14 or 15 million living outside the country in the West. Get them back into Ukraine, or some number. Let the OSCE supervise this, and then have some kind of legitimate council, something elected that can treat with the Russians. That's all. And the other point is the Russians don't want to rule Ukrainians. Wake up. I grew up with Ukrainians in North Philadelphia. You know, believe me, the Russians don't want to rule those people. You'll be at war forever. They're crazy. I love them, but they're a little nuts. And they will not submit to Russian rule. So that's not on the table. The table is neutrality and ending the war and not living in hostility with Russia. That can be done. I would get the OSCE in it. I would get us out. We are not honest brokers. Forget it. Neither is MI6 in London.
Come see us on tour. We're going to be in Baltimore, Hartford, Connecticut, Syracuse, Atlantic.
His most recent statements that Putin and Dmitry Medvedev were watching this together live in the Kremlin, seated in front of the TV. They were sharing a big box of salted butter popcorn and tossing it in their mouths and laughing their asses off as this was going on. I can't confirm that, but I have it on good grounds. Good grounds. Yeah. So there is, you know, I referred to Trump. I have always referred to Trump since his first administration as a chaos bomb, and the chaos bomb is just going off repeatedly in several of the same locations like crazy, and it is going off. I mean, we're not talking like a grenade. We're talking like tactical nuke level, maybe strategic. I think it's actually strategic level nukes at this point, and it is throwing all, you know, prognostications, all assumptions, all theories, all the time that you've been spending carefully watching the events on the battlefield in Ukraine and calculating out logistics and manpower and artillery shell production and usage rates and everything, and you know, trying to figure out how much longer this could go on, you know, whether the Kiev regime's forces, military forces, would crumble or not, how far Russia would go. Yeah, it's all just toss it all away. just throw it all away because everything is changing, and everything is changing so fast and so dramatically that it takes a lot. I mean, I form an opinion and an analytical opinion on something like how much longer this conflict will last, and I stand really hard by it, and I will allow myself very gradually to adjust those things as sufficient new information and data points come in. It's just tidal wave. It's just everything is gone, and I am forced to reassess a lot of what I have been thinking about the course of this conflict, how much longer it will last, what the geopolitical situation will look like when it's over, and so forth. And it's one of the things that I did talk about when Trump won the inauguration. I did accurately predict that one of the places the Trump chaos bomb would go off again is the transatlantic relationship, which is a good bet because there were a lot of tensions between the US and Europe during the first administration. And quite obviously, European political leaders were openly cheering for, campaigning for even Biden and then Kamala Harris against Trump. And those fruits are have ripened, and they're come home to harvest. But I myself had no idea how the extent to which this chaos bomb is going off on the transatlantic relationship. Now, one of the things that Keith Kellogg, who was proclaimed as the Trump envoy, peace envoy to the Ukraine conflict, we now know that he actually has a very specific, narrow focus job. He won't be speaking to Russia at all. His job is actually, and this has been admitted, is to hold the hands of the Kiev regime and Europe throughout this whole process while it's going on and pacify them or get them in line.
To manage the children's table while the adults eat over here, he's going to manage the kids' table to make sure they don't fight and pull on their toys and cry over rattles and stuff like that.
By the way, it was specifically referred to, right, where Europe and the Kiev regime are in these negotiations, or will be, right, because they really haven't begun yet, but the writing, I think, is on the wall, was specifically referred to as the kids' table by the CEO of the German military industrial complex Rheinmetall. And he was talking specifically about why they are at, or at least one of the major reasons they are at the kids' table, sidelined from this. He says, because their military stocks of Europe are empty. They're empty. And their production has not significantly ramped up after 3 years of this conflict. So hard power equals, position equals power. Hard power equals diplomatic power in a conflict situation like this, and they don't have any hard power. Not certainly not on a par with the big boys in this conversation. So they're suffering for that. The European militaries, whether we're talking the United Kingdom, France, Germany, others, have deteriorated to such a level. If you hear Keir Starmer talking about sending the British military to Russia, pay close attention to what the British press and even British military audits have been saying about the abysmal state of the British military, how they're unable to meet manning levels like catastrophically for an extended period of time now, because no one wants to join. All right, all this money they wasted on these aircraft carriers without having jets to fly off of them, and then stuck decommissioning possibly them, other warships, because they can't man them up, having already sent essentially all of their self-propelled howitzers to Ukraine already, and having none left of their own. They're in a very, very poor state, according to their own assessment. France is in much the same situation, and Germany is, if anything, even worse. And those are supposedly the three big military powers of Western Europe. So,
but I think the Germans can provide schnitzel. I think they've got some extra schnitzel, to help feed the soldiers if they get there.
Yeah,
and they get hungry.
The schnitzel is really useful.
As the last meal.
Yeah. So anyway, Keith Kellogg, back to Keith Kellogg. He reported, I think it was almost, things are happening so fast. This comment was almost a week ago, I think. And he was asked by a journalist what he thought he said everyone's got to make concessions, and they asked him, well, what concessions does Russia going to make? And one of the things that he brought up, or the thing that he focused on, actually, after hemming and hawing for a few seconds awkwardly on that question, was that the US, the Trump administration, wanted Russia to break up its alliances with China, with North Korea, and Iran, right? Strategic partnerships, right? He said alliances, but they're de facto alliances, right? That was what the Trump administration wanted. So we see where part of their foreign policy thinking is. They want to woo Russia away from China and Iran and North Korea, and essentially maybe even replace Europe, right? Kind of dovetail Europe in behind Russia as the American partner. That seems right now to be the Trump administration's foreign policy vision, such as it is. Okay, so I got news flash for Kellogg and for Trump. That's not going to happen, right? I mean, both Putin and Xi Jinping are well aware that it was the U.S. exploitation of the Sino-Soviet split in the 70s and early 80s that was one of the major reasons why the Cold War ended, right? As it did, with the self-dissolution of the Soviet Union and proclaimed by the West as their victory. That's not going to happen again. They planned long-term. They've got their backs set to each other. They share information on anything. I have no doubt that Putin may play along with Trump. At some point, they'll be doing photo ops and slapping each other on the back, maybe, all kinds of things. And I'm sure Putin will tell Trump whatever he thinks that Trump's ego and narcissism wants to hear, right, about China. But as soon as he's done, he'll be on the phone to Beijing. This is what this Trump said, right? And I approve of that, right? Play Trump as best as you can, right? But keep it all on a level with China. But we can't expect the Russian-Chinese relationship, right? That's fantasy. That's delusion. It's not going to happen. But what could break, right? The one of the geopolitical foundations of the world that we know today and have lived all of our lives in, the transatlantic relationship between the US and Europe, that, on the other hand, is looking like, I mean, we're only 3 weeks into the administration. That could suffer enormous amount of damage, if not actually break, in the next 3 years, right? three, 4 years.
Did you say the next 3 hours?
Yeah, right. Possibly. I mean, we heard early this week on Monday, right after Trump and Putin met in Saudi Arabia, Macron called an emergency meeting, right? You know, Justice League assemble, right, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? In Europe. And actually, it wasn't all the leaders of Europe. It wasn't all the leaders. It was the leaders that Macron thought that he could rely on for what the real reason for the meeting was. And that was to try to cobble together some European military force to send to Ukraine, right? And part of that was exactly this hard power thing that we were talking about, that the CEO of Rheinmetall, to assemble a military force that theoretically, right, they're talking would be sent into Ukraine as once a ceasefire, which Russia says won't happen, took effect, to then play the role of peacekeepers, quote unquote, right, which, as the Russian ambassador to the UN pointed out, only the Security Council can approve, at least officially, right? Legally under an international law. Not that the US has ever cared about that. And Russia, of course, has a veto on the Security Council. So he was saying, yeah, that's not going to happen, right? Russia's been pretty clear on that. Whatever hat they're wearing, NATO hat, EU hat, their own national hats, no member, openly uniformed troops of European countries in Ukraine, right? We already know how many mercenaries and unofficials they've had, right? But no military formations, no uniformed troops wearing whatever hat or flying whatever flag, or they will be targets, right? Russia will not tolerate that. They went to war to prevent NATO from deploying in Ukraine, right? From absorbing Ukraine. They're not going to let them do it as part of Russia's victory. That's just laughable. I mean, it's what are these people? I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, so Macron thought he was going to assemble some kind of force, and that would remind Trump, hey, we've got something to contribute. We've got a big military, and then of course also as a threat to Russia. Right, we could send this into Ukraine against you tomorrow, right? That was part of the message, obviously. And they failed. They failed completely to come to any type of agreement. No one is willing. First of all, everyone's military is in a very bad state, and they're living in this fantasy land where, I mean, it's like, I don't actually play these things, but I've seen enough of videos like one of these MMORPGs, right? Where you're bragging about how great your character is, and then you're going into a zone of the world that's for like characters of 100 levels higher than you are, or whatever. That's what this is like. Yeah, they would get massacred in this conflict, right? They would get massacred by the Ukrainians, much less by the Russians.
How would they even get there? You know what I mean? They couldn't even get to the battlefield. If they got to the battlefield, they couldn't resupply themselves, and they wouldn't need resupplies because they'd be slaughtered in artillery. And it's not even in the sphere of rationality.
How would they provide air cover? Right, of course they don't actually. If they sent them in, it would be like they wouldn't expect to actually have combat with Russia. They really seriously believe that if they put their troops on the ground on Ukraine, that Russia won't hit them, won't engage them, will just let them be and then settle. Right?
Oh my gosh, NATO's here. We better stop. There's 2,500 Brits with a picture of a tank because they've got an IOU. They'll go up to the Russians and surrender. Why? Well, see this right here? We've got a contract for tanks to be built in 3 years. And doggone it, if you don't surrender, in 3 years, those tanks will be here. And then we shall engage you and decisively defeat the Russian army. The first tank brigade will be done, but you got to give us a couple years to get the tanks.
They're in serious denial about realities of the Russian military, of their own militaries, about the state of the battle in Ukraine, about the state geopolitically, politically, where this conflict is, what the Trump administration's policy is. They're so far in this fantasy land because they refuse to admit reality. And JD Vance hit it home again today, right? And this was a great statement. We've been talking about that on this show, right? And many other shows, and not just us, but many other people in the alt media, right? He said, JD Vance said, the Russians have a huge numerical advantage in manpower and weapons in Ukraine. And this advantage will remain regardless of future further Western aid packages. Wow. Right?
Because the EU is saying they're going to have another package of $6 billion. Here's the thing about it. Okay, we're going to send you $6 billion to buy weapons. Great. Where can we buy the weapons? We don't really have them yet, and the factories are kind of closed down, and we're going to try to negotiate with the Russians to get enough power to run the factories. That way we can build the weapons to send them to you to attack the what the hell? These people, are they hanging out with Zelensky, enjoying some of that, the fruits of the Colombian Andes, shall we say?
If you'll remember, the Czech prime minister tried to come up with a deal to buy artillery shells on the international market, right? This was a little over a year ago, and that completely failed. I mean, he came up spending 10 times what he wanted for a fraction of the artillery shells, and then the ones that they got were exploding in their own guns, right, on the battlefield.
He got it from some guy in Nigeria. There was a guy in Nigeria that had some extra ones. Just to give us the information for your bank account so that we can get the money out, and the shells will be delivered any day now.
And JD Vance has admitted, the Pentagon's stockpiles are empty, right? It has its minimum of its own requirements, but any excess they had whatsoever, and probably a bit into their own minimum stat armaments, have been sent, and they can't produce fast enough, right? Because they can't ramp up their military industrial complex because of its for-profit basis, right? And it's not geared up for this type of conflict, right? It's not geared up for a artillery heavy, land-centric war of attrition in Eurasia. Meanwhile, the Russians have been preparing for exactly this conflict since the end of World War II, right? Because that was the type of conflict they fought then, and they knew it was going to come again in one form or another. They've been preparing all this time. They never got rid of their surplus military industrial capacity at the end of World War II. Yeah, it wasn't profitable and it was just sitting there, but it was just sitting there for a time like this. And not only was it just sitting there, they were actually keeping it modernized all this time too, right? What a waste of money that was, huh? You know, but you know, the Western military industrial complex made all of these ridiculous promises like, yeah, we can produce on demand. Yeah, okay, right? You know, that might work for, I don't know, IKEA or something, but that doesn't work for artillery shells. Anyway, so the Europeans are living in this fantasy land, and JD Vance and others in the Trump administration, Hegseth, are calling them out on it again and again, and they're using this word realism, the real situation. We need to be realistic, right? And again, JD Vance made comments. He was saying that this isn't, you know, what they've arrived at with this is not as a result of moralism, right? It's not as a result of sensibilities or anything like that. It's just a realistic situation of reality, dealing with reality, right? That's all it is, right? And if you continue to try to read these, you know, other fantasies, this hopium, the situation that we wish we were into this. You're just going to keep digging yourself in further, and there will be less and less of Ukraine at the end of it for you even to negotiate with as a buffer between Russia and its new most powerful military for land-centric combat in the world that has developed, forged in blood and fire, and well exposed to and well countering Western wonder weapons, right? Over the last 3 years. So seriously, before you really piss off the Russians, such that not only do they not go all the way to Kiev or the Polish border, but keep poking a stick at them and see if they go further after that. Because what it increasingly looks like to me is Trump is saying, you're on your own, Europe, right? They've made it clear they want to pull U.S. troops out of Europe, right? They want them redirected to the Pacific, right? Where should they see China as the real threat? But even with China, I mean, they seem perfectly serious about this. The Trump personally, the White House personally sent the policy to Hegseth, right, the new Secretary of Defense, prepare for an 8% cut in military spending every year for the next 5 years, or 4, you can dictate, right? That's huge.
That's a great thing,
right? I mean, we all know that if the U.S. cut their spending in half, they would still be far outspending Russia and China, at least in dollar terms. We see how all that spending, what it actually produces for the battlefield, that is effective on the battlefield, with the enormous amount of built-in corruption and graft in the exorbitant prices of the U.S. military-industrial complex. That's another question. But Trump seems perfectly serious about this. He realizes that this, not just the pursuit of hegemony, but the pursuit of primacy, right? The idea that the U.S. military should be the most powerful military, able to exercise, able to operate and dictate U.S. foreign policy interests anywhere and everywhere in the world, right? Should be more powerful than any other country, even in their own backyard. That's primacy, right? And you can certainly argue that during the 90s, right, and the early 2000s, that the U.S., if they didn't have primacy, they were well on their way to it, right? But then China and Russia, right, started to grow, right? And India and other countries as well. And that's gone now, right? There's been too much diverted flow as a result of globalization and the whole Bretton Woods process that the U.S. put in place that moved too much money to Asia, right, where the production was, right? By the U.S.'s own economic design, right? Wealth moved to Asia, right? And that has led to the U.S. It is in an overstretched imperial condition, right? Imperial overstretch. Trump has rightly recognized what has actually been talked about quietly in some military and international relations journals, that the costs that the U.S. was spending on hegemony and primacy were exorbitant, and the rewards, the benefits, were very few. The U.S. has spent too much, and it needs a dose of realism in foreign policy to come back and assess we need to change our priorities. The pursuit of hegemony and primacy is too expensive. It's not succeeding anyway. We need to retrench. We need to reprioritize, retrench, and cut back, right? Cut the pork, cut the fat where we don't need it. And that requires a new foreign policy position, right? So, to match a reduced military spending and capacity. And Trump seems set on this. This is amazing, right? I mean, what he's put out in 3 weeks, right? Stuff like this has been discussed theoretically for a couple decades now. This is the largest shift in foreign policy between one administration and another in modern history, but perhaps in all of U.S. history.
I was going to say in American history, definitely. Let me ask you this.
Possibly in all American history.
Let me throw something.
Generally, foreign policy changes very little from president to president, right? Even from Obama to Trump, very small. The JCPOA was the biggest thing there. That was seen as an aberration. That during Trump's first presidency. From Trump to Biden, very little differences.
It gets worse. It usually gets worse. It usually gets worse. It usually gets more intense.
Right, for decades, right? Very little change. It was granted that the U.S. was going to pursue hegemony, pursue primacy, them linked together, expand NATO, all of these things. And that's all changed. It's changed overnight. And it's this, in terms of the U.S. foreign policy, in terms of, what Ben Rhodes called the blob, right? The U.S. foreign and security policy elite, right? You can call it the deep state if you want. You can call it the permanent bureaucracy. But deviation from that has been verboten. It has been forbidden, right? And during Trump's first administration, when he tried to move even a little bit, it was, oh, no, you don't really want to move troops out of Syria and Afghanistan, do you? Because then we might have to revisit our votes, right, for impeachment in the Senate. That sort of thing was going on. Now, Trump is in a much more powerful domestic political situation. And he's obviously had 4 years to think and has actually probably sat down with some of these people, Witkoff and others, right? And he has a foreign policy vision. He has a new grand strategy vision for the United States, which doesn't mean that it's beneficent for the rest of the world, right? It's based on U.S. interests, right? And not all of those. But in the particular of the conflict in Ukraine, it's really looking like he wants to shut this thing down, and he wants it shut down yesterday, right? And Russia is realizing that in negotiations that the U.S. may be willing to give them a lot, maybe willing to give them most of what they want, maybe more than what they want, right? They're going, if you've seen the statements after the meeting of Rubio and Lavrov and others in Saudi Arabia, the Russians have made clear, Trump and Putin are going to have a meeting, and we know the Americans want to have it yesterday and everything, but we take time. It takes time to build these. Russia's playing this game now, right? They're going to drag this out. They've brought the Trump administration, has bought into this, and they're in no hurry here, right? They're going to put the screws, right? And the Trump administration keeps walking further and further into this, leaving less room politically to maneuver on their side. Trump just called Zelensky a dictator. Now, we've been saying that, we've been saying that the Kiev regime is a dictatorship in one form or another since 2014, right? But the U.S. president said this, right? This, all of this, right, including this most recent thing, this means that a team, right? And I don't believe that there's no grand movement behind this foreign policy vision, right? The MAGA movement may get behind it, right? Or at least some of it, right? And some other people like you and me who wouldn't consider ourselves right behind that. But this is a team of radicals on U.S. foreign and security policy, right? They are radicals. They want to radically change U.S. foreign policy for good and bad, right? For Americans, for the rest of the world, right? But they want a radical change, right? They've identified that all of this keep on doing what has been failing is sunk cost fallacy, right? And they are going to risk radical changes, radical transformation of U.S. foreign and military policy, something that I certainly didn't predict, and I don't know anyone out there who was predicting, certainly not the scale of this. And
although I did, and I put a post up on my my YouTube channel from a year ago when everybody was like, no, we're going to fight to the end, and it's going to go. And I said, they will. I said, when they get ready to leave, they will exercise. And if anybody can look, the video is up, and it's the post video for my YouTube channel. I said, they will exercise the Samsonite option, that when they get ready to go, they will pack their bags and they will walk the hell out of there. Although I had no idea just how accurate it would be, because Mark, to be frank, what I see now is the Russians are like, all right, this is going to be tough. We're ready to go. They're stretching, they're getting their water. All right, we're going to, and the Americans are like, okay, let's look. Oh, is that? That's all you did? Oh, that's all it'll take to get this Nazi-infested crap hole off of our backs. Zelensky's a pain in the neck. We hate this guy worse than you hate. Trump's like looking at Trump's like looking at Tulsi and Hegseth, and he's like, this guy's busting my chops here. He's get this guy, stick at this guy.
What it feels like is that the Trump administration has received the Russian terms, and they're like, that's all? Are you sure you don't want this too? Right? I mean, that's what it feels like.
Look, will you reconsider invading Europe and taking those bastards too? Please. I know you don't want Europe, but please just invade. Could you at least go to Germany and get those snitchel-eating bastards out of here? They're aggravating. I mean, the only person that Trump hates worse than Zelensky, I think, is Keir Starmer, the Starmer, Macron, Schultz group. And Schultz is now stepping up saying, how dare Trump call Zelensky a dictator? You're literally arresting people in your country for insulting someone.
I think the difference there is Trump hates Starmer, whereas Trump just has contempt for Zelensky.
Yeah, good point. I mean, good point. But what's Zelensky?
Completely,
he's like, we will just because you make a deal with the Russians, we will not abide by the deal unless we're involved. And I'm like, aren't you the guy that just said a couple of weeks ago that if the Americans stop giving us money, we're out of this? Specifically, you stole 90% of it anyway. You got no weapons. You didn't get money for weapons. You got money so you could fill your filthy pockets. Take the money, just like the song says, go on, take the money and run, brother.
A little aside,
Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Russia and the United States are agreeing to work towards ending Ukraine war in a remarkable diplomatic shift. That's right from the AP is saying that. And it's remarkable. Really? It's almost like it could have been done 4 years ago. That's kind of amazing.
Well, that's right. But you had to have something happen. Remember when President Trump came in, he began repeating the same stupid figures for Ukrainian losses and Russian losses that were completely false. Well, the Russians have lost 800,000 men. The Ukrainians have only lost 100,000. The Ukrainians are still winning. This kind of nonsense. And eventually, I don't know how it happened. I've been yelling at the top of my lungs whenever I go on any of these podcasts or news shows, and I say, Ukrainians have lost over 1 million dead. The Russians are just shy of 100,000. So the exchange ratio was always about 1 to 5, then it was 1 to 6, then it became 1 to 7, now it's 1 to 10. It's beginning to drop because the Russians are no longer killing as many people, because there aren't that many people putting up any resistance anymore, and also because the Russians really don't want to kill anybody. Now, I know that sounds strange, but from the very beginning, Russia did not want this war. We are the ones that subsidized it. We created it. We launched it. And we are responsible for the destruction of Ukraine and 1 million human beings in that country. But it took time for President Trump to finally have the truth presented to him. And thank God, when it was presented to him, he had the guts to stand up and say, nonsense. This is wrong. Russia didn't start this. We are the authors of this. And you've heard Jeffrey Sachs and others, recite from the text how many different points in time we've pushed against the Russians and driven them back and lied to them and subverted them. Well, he's figured that out. And so he simply came out and told the truth. And of course, the most insulting thing you can do in Washington is tell the Washington swamp the truth.
Yeah, that's I've talked about that plenty. Well, here's what Trump was asked by a reporter. Let's watch this.
Do you have any message for Ukrainians who, after 3 years of fighting, might feel betrayed or disappointed at not having a seat at these initial talks in Saudi Arabia?
Well, I think I'm really disappointed in what's happened. I've been watching this for 3 years. It's a war that would have never happened if I was president. And I've been watching these people being killed at levels that you've rarely seen, not even close, since the Second World War.
Hey, but can I just say to that reporter before I let President Trump answer this? I would like to know, does the American press have any message for the men that Ukraine stuffed into vans against their will to be killed in vain for BlackRock? That would be my question for the U.S. press.
Yeah.
Okay, back to Trump.
And I'm very disappointed. I hear that, they're upset about not having a seat. Well, they've had a seat for 3 years and a long time before that. This could have been settled very easily. Just a half-baked negotiator could have settled this years ago without the loss of much land, very little land, without the loss of any lives, and without the loss of cities that are just laying on their sides. You have those magnificent golden domes that are shattered, will never be replaced. You can't replace them. 1,000-year-old domes that are so beautiful, you can't replace that. The whole civilization has changed because of what. So when they're worried about not being seated, you mean somebody that should have gone in and made a deal a long time ago.
So that's what Trump has to say to that quest. The question. It's amazing how pro-war that the press is. It's just amazing. I'll never stop being slack-jawed at the United States pro-war press. But the AP is now saying that this is an extraordinary about-face that U.S. foreign policy under President Donald Trump. In an interview with the AP after the meeting, Marco Rubio said the two sides agreed broadly to pursue 3 goals: to restore staffing in their respective embassies in Washington and Moscow, to create a high-level team to support Ukraine peace talks, and to explore closer relations and economic cooperation. Wow, it sounds like crazy MAGA talk. He stressed, however, that the talks, which were attended by Sergei Lavrov and other senior Russian and U.S. officials, marked the beginning of a conversation and more work needs to be done. Lavrov echoed Rubio's remarks and told reporters that the conversation was useful. We not only listened, but we also heard each other. No Ukrainian officials were present at the meeting, which came as the beleaguered country is slowly but steadily losing ground against more numerous Russian troops in a grinding war that began nearly 3 years ago. Zelensky said his country would not accept any outcome from the talks since Kiev wasn't a part of it. He's postponed his trip to the kingdom scheduled for Wednesday. Europeans allies have also expressed concerns that they're also being sidelined. What do you make of that? That Trump is not involving Ukraine? First of all, I think it's great because Zelensky's just a warmonger, and he had a peace deal the month after the war started that he ripped up. But what do you say to this? That Trump is not including the Ukrainians at the table?
President Trump has discovered that our friend Zelensky is much, much worse than just a political puppet for the Washington war machine. He's a criminal. He's part of the graft and the corruption. He's stuffed his bank accounts all over the world with hundreds of millions of our cash, while he's paid off the senior people in the Ukrainian army to send their men to their deaths, along with subsidizing a secret police, as you pointed out, that is terrorizing his own country. This man makes Stalin almost moderate in many respects. I mean, there's no evidence for even the slightest concern about Ukrainian life, despite the nonsense that he spouts. And I think that President Trump has discovered that. I hope that Elon Musk and his friends, take a long, hard look at this black pit for U.S. money called Ukraine. It's one giant graft machine. So no one should take them seriously at all. I am disappointed that it's been impossible for Ukrainian soldiers in the field who've been doing all of this dying to rise up and get rid of these people, because that's really what needs to happen. But as I said, all of your senior officers, all the way down to battalion commander, these people are being paid handsomely, and the soldiers do all the fighting and the dying. It's a tragedy that's beyond belief, but it's because of us. We subsidized it, we pushed it, we encouraged it. What are you going to do? You tell Zelensky, don't sign the deal. This is back in at the end of April in 2022. Yeah, we'll send you everything you need. You're backed by the scientific industrial power of America. No one can defeat America. We'll give you everything, and so will the British, and so forth. And at the end of the day, I think he bought that line. And he can't possibly stand up and tell the truth about anything, because it's like putting a noose around his neck. And I think we're going to see much more of that before this is over. But the key point of that previous statement is this is going to take time, Jimmy. There's no trust between Moscow and Washington. Moscow and Washington supposedly want to build peace and cooperation. I know the Russians do. I know President Trump wants to. But if you're Lavrov or you're Putin and you look at the unending sea of lies that has been pouring out of Washington over the last several years and the hatred for Russia, you have to be a little skeptical. So I think it's going to take months, not weeks, to hammer out a solution. But if we do it, we can actually have a much better world. And with the Russians' cooperation, we're in a much better position around the world, because we need their cooperation, not just in Europe, but in the Middle East, but also in Northeast Asia. And they're close to China, and we want to cultivate better relations with China. And I think President Trump has made that clear. He said, I want to take the U.S. Navy out of the South China Sea. You can imagine the heart attacks in the hallways there in the Navy staff. He said that. He's right. And he wants to do business with China, but he always has said, I want to be smart about it. We want it on an equitable basis. It has to be mutually beneficial. So again, that's why when you asked about Taiwan, I think the signs in Asia are good. I also think he wants to get out of Korea. He made the comment, I'm open to the South Koreans possessing nuclear weapons. Well, he wasn't really talking about nuclear weapons. What he was saying is, I'm ready to leave South Korea. And we ought to get out of there. We've been there for 70 years. The Chinese and the Russians are in control of Northeast Asia, and they can settle the problem on the peninsula quickly. Xi absolutely loathes Rocket Man in North Korea. That whole regime is nothing but a catalyst for war, which the Chinese want nothing to do with. It's Moscow, but if Xi says, I want this to end, Putin will end it, because they depend entirely on subsidies from Russia to do anything. So I think, Trump has broken the code. He's on the right track in foreign policy now. He's talked about cutting the defense budget by 50%. You can do that if you know what you're doing. so much of it is graft and waste, and that's what Elon Musk and his friends are going to discover there. I can't wait till they get to Medicare and Medicaid.
Well, a lot of MAGA people on Medicare and Medicaid, so we'll see what happens.
No, but they're also talking about 30 million people that don't exist that are on Social Security.
Yeah. So that would be good. I know. I just saw that. I'm like, that's hard to believe. I saw the headline. I'm like, could that really be true? That they have, I think it was 20 million. Maybe it is 30 million. That doesn't matter. That's a big number. And that are on Social Security and that are supposedly over 100 years old.
Big scam. 140. Big scam.
Our sponsors, Colonial Metals Group, helped me.
Right now, we are living in some strange times. On top of all the world conflict we are recently witnessing, we are also dealing with an epidemic of aircraft accidents. Not only does it seem like planes are just falling out of the sky, but at the same time, it appears like Bible prophecies are being fulfilled. All of this makes me wonder if we are at the cusp of some massive change, or if it's all just a strange coincidence. Hey guys, I hope all is well. Welcome back to The Truth Is, where I drop new videos every other day exposing the truth. In today's episode, we will be talking about all the strange incidents that have been happening around the world. Let's get right into it. I want to start this video by saying I'm not trying to scare anyone, or like some people say, fearmonger. I just wanted to make a video about all the strange things that are happening in our world right now. I know, just like I find myself in deep thought, you guys are most likely thinking about the same thing. Why are all these planes crashing this year? Or why is it being reported that a canal in Argentina turned blood red? Or why did those destructive wildfires ravage so many parts of Los Angeles? So many things are happening right now that it's hard not to think this is all a part of some bigger plan. But is it really? Or is this just something that they want us to believe? Well, if you want the answer to that question, make sure you watch this video to the end, because in the end, I reveal it all. Let's start with all the plane crashes that happened in 2025 so far. Yesterday, 2 planes near the Marana Regional Airport, just northwest of Tucson, collided, leaving 2 people dead. This is coming after just a few days back, a Delta plane crashed in Toronto. Thank God, all 80 passengers managed to survive, although many of them were severely injured. The plane flipped over after crash landing and then burst into flames. A couple of weeks before this, it was reported that a plane in Houston had issues when the engine exploded right before the plane was able to take off, thankfully sparing all the lives on board, as everyone was able to get off. A couple days before that incident, a medical transport plane fell out of the sky in Philadelphia, landing in the middle of a busy Philadelphia area. Everyone on board of that plane sadly passed away. I spoke about that incident in my last video on the plane crashes. If you haven't seen that one, make sure you check it out. This Philly crash also came days before another crash that happened in DC, where a commercial plane collided with a military helicopter, taking the lives of everyone on board. There was also a US surveillance plane that crashed in the Philippines that left 4 dead. Now, I find it strange that all these incidents seem to be happening back to back. If it were just one, maybe even 2 incidents so close together, it wouldn't be so concerning. But the fact that there have been so many incidents this year alone raises the question of what's really going on. Why all of a sudden are planes having so many accidents? To me, this all reminds me of the Boeing cover-ups I reported on last year. Last year, we were dealing with a similar situation regarding planes. Although there weren't that many plane crashes last year, there were several issues reported with Boeing planes. In fact, a man by the name of John Barnett came out last year and exposed that Boeing was putting faulty parts in their planes to meet deadlines. John raised concerns about the safety of these planes, demanding an investigation. When this investigation began, John was brought in to testify against Boeing. He stated that Boeing knew about the faulty parts in their planes, but proceeded to provide these planes for major airlines to use on commercial flights. Sadly, while John was set to testify in court, the day before the trial, he was found gone in his car. It was reported that he took himself out, but the world already knew that was lies, and he was most likely taken out. Same thing with another Boeing whistleblower, Joshua Dean, who reported issues with Boeing jets as well. He died suddenly after contracting pneumonia and suffering a stroke, interestingly after he decided to speak out. These men attempted to warn us about Boeing's planes and how these planes weren't meeting safety standards. The elite who owned these companies didn't want these people making these warnings. It might have not only been the Boeing planes that had these issues, and maybe many other plane manufacturers had the same problems. Now, honestly, we can see why they didn't want these whistleblowers speaking out, as for whatever reason, planes just keep falling out of the skies. I myself tried to warn people about this last year, but I was told that I was fear-mongering and trying to scare people, when in reality, I just wanted to warn people who blindly trust these elite corporations with our lives. I was concerned about our safety, and seeing all these incidents happen in 2025, I believe I did the right thing by warning. Again, this has nothing to do with fear-mongering. I am never spreading fear. I am spreading the truth, which is the opposite of fear. The truth can lead you to God, and once you're in his hands, you have nothing to fear at all. Now, if you're like me and want to know exactly what's causing these plane crashes, I think it's a part of a much bigger plan. But according to the media, these plane crashes might be connected to the shift in the Earth's magnetic North Pole, which they claim is affecting aviation by making it harder to navigate using a compass. To me, this doesn't really explain anything, but only presents more questions. Like, why is the Earth's magnetic pole shifting? If you want to know what I think is causing all of this, stick around to the end of this video where I go over the imagery that was shown to us in the last 2 years that seems to tell us exactly what is coming. On top of all of these unexplainable plane crashes, it's also being reported that a canal in Argentina mysteriously turned blood red. According to reports, the residents near this canal woke up to a strange odor. When they went out to investigate, they saw the canal bright red as if it were turned to blood. This concerned many people as they have never seen the canal blood red before. Many people are seeing this as a Bible prophecy happening right in front of us. In Revelation 8:8, we find this verse: "The second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood." All over social media, people have been mass reporting that this blood red canal in Argentina is a sign of the end times. Now, I don't agree with this, and I don't think this is a Bible prophecy, as in the Bible, it specifically states that 1/3 of the seas will become blood red. But right now, there is no explanation of what caused the canal in Argentina to turn blood red. But some locals believe it's a leather factory that is dumping dyes into the canal. They have said the canal has turned different colors in the past, but never blood red. While this might be the case, we're still waiting for confirmation from the labs that took water samples to test it. To me, while I don't think this is a Bible prophecy, I do think it's a sign of something they have planned. On top of all of the planes that are falling and the blood canal in Argentina, Los Angeles dealt with one of the worst wildfires in its history. I made 2 videos on this, and I broke down just how much damage the fire actually managed to achieve. Thousands of people lost their homes and businesses, while the city of Los Angeles dealt with massive destruction. These fires felt like a biblical event unfolding, with Los Angeles burning for several weeks. It took the lives of at least 29 people and destroyed 18,000 structures. Now, in my past videos about this, I spoke out about how the government failed at taming these flames, with the reports of budget cuts in the fire department and water reserves that were empty, also the fire hydrants not having water flow and failing when needed, and how the insurance companies stopped covering homes months before the fires took place. It almost seemed like it was all planned. To me, this was all connected to the plans for the new LA, the plans to rebuild LA into a smart city. We all know that in order to build something like a new smart city, the old city that stands needs to be erased. This is what I believe could have been what these fires were used for, but that's just my theory, especially after the governor of California admitted they were going to rebuild LA and make it better than it was before.
Helpful in getting the Olympics to the United States of America, to get it down here in LA. We thank him for that. This is an opportunity for him to shine, for this country to shine, for California and this community to shine. The opportunity with all of that and all that opportunity and that pride and spirit that comes from not just hosting those 3 iconic games and venues, but also the opportunity, I think, to rebuild at the same time. And that's why we're already organizing a Marshall Plan. We already have a team looking and reimagining LA 2.0, and we're making sure everyone's included, not just the folks on the coast, people here that were ravaged by this disaster.
You just said you're organizing a Marshall Plan for the rebuilding of California. What is that Marshall Plan? Tell us about this Marshall Plan.
We're just starting to lay out. I mean, we're still fighting these fires. So we're already talking to city leaders. We're already talking to civic leaders. We're already already talking to business leaders and nonprofits.
Now, in this interview, I honestly believe he was referring to the plans for a smart city. To me, this is only further confirmation that all that destruction these fires caused was allowed to achieve this goal of rebuilding LA. Now, all of this that is happening in 2025 makes me think that this is all a part of a bigger plan. I feel that a lot of what is happening now was foreshadowed back in 2023 and 2024, especially what we were shown in the movie Leave the World Behind. That movie felt like a warning to me of something big that they were planning. Considering that Obama had helped in the production of the movie, it seemed like a declaration of their plans instead of a movie for entertainment. Honestly, I don't want to get into too much, as when I covered this movie back in 2023, I got a community guideline strike and I was punished. But I will say, there is a scene in Leave the World Behind that shows planes just falling out of the sky. In that movie, we are shown a lot of things that are seeming to play out now. One of the things that I found the most eerie was that the movie ended with a little girl sealing herself in a doomsday bunker. This movie was released the same year it was being reported that billionaires were building their own doomsday bunkers. I feel like the elite that run this world want people to think it's the end. While they might be showing signs that the end is coming, God is the only one who truly knows. In my opinion, all of this that has been happening lately just seems to be a part of their plan. They spent 2023 and 2024 pushing this end times imagery. Literally, it was all over movies, music, and all forms of entertainment. It was a literal theme for those years. The way the billionaires were building these underground bunkers and how Hollywood was putting all these end time messages in their movies, it's clear that this is what they want us to believe. Now this year, it seems that they're continuing their plans, pushing their narrative further and further, making it seem like it's what's coming. Like I said though, they don't know when it's coming, but they want it to come. Do you know how I know this? Because they state this in their Masonic books. The Freemasons' favorite book of the Bible is the book of Revelation. Do you know why? Because in Revelation, it speaks about an age where the Antichrist will rise and rule, and about a new world order forming. While in the Bible, the New World Order being spoken of is a world order governed by God himself. The Freemasons see this as a time that they will establish their new Masonic world order, governed by the Masonic order and Lucifer. In one of their Masonic books, they speak of upholding the Revelation prophecy. In the book, it states, "And by the trestle board, we are also reminded that as the operative workman erects his temporal building agreeably to the rails and designs laid down by the masters on his trestle board, so should we both parative and speculative endeavor to erect our spiritual building agreeably to the rules and designs laid down by the supreme architect of the universe in the great book of Revelation, which is our spiritual, moral, and Masonic trestle board." To the Masons, the book of Revelation will bring forth what they have been waiting for, a new Masonic world order. So I believe they are forcing it to happen artificially to declare their new world order. The end isn't something we can predict until the signs are shown. But these signs that we have been seeing are not from God. They want us to believe is the end. Also, they can fulfill their Masonic prophecies. Like they told us and Leave the World Behind. The elite already know what's going to happen. And it's because they are part of making it happen.
One of my clients invited me and my wife to a private event. My client, I won't say his name, but you'd recognize it though.
Is he a celebrity?
No, nothing like that. But in the business world, he's one of the biggest out there. So he takes me to his study. Eventually he starts in how much he likes me and how he wishes he could invite me on this trip he's about to go on.
What kind of, where's he going?
That's exactly what I asked. And he turns to me, serious face, and he says, "Oh, just my annual meeting with the rest of the evil cabal that runs the world. My friend calls me up. No scheduled appointment like he usually does, just calls me out of the blue. He wants to move around some of his money. And we're talking some big numbers even for him. And as we're getting off the phone, I ask if he wants to grab a drink. He tells me he's going away for a while. I joke back to him, "Oh yeah, you hang with your evil cabal this weekend? That was only during the winter solstice." Then he doesn't laugh. Then he always laughs, even with bad jokes. All he said was, "Take care of yourself." Almost as if he felt sorry for me. Conspiracy theory about shocking people around the world is far too lazy of an explanation, especially when the truth is much scarier. No one is in control.
Honestly, it seems that they have been behind all of these incidents. The Super Bowl halftime show was all about America going through the great work. If you saw my video on the Super Bowl, you saw me break down all the imagery and symbolism. The great work is an alchemic term that represents a grand transformation, man to God. The great work for America is a transformation from the old order to a new Masonic heavenly world, what they call a great world that will be ruled over by Lucifer. This is what the Super Bowl halftime show was telling us. They were putting America through the great work. They want us to believe the end is near because they needed to finish establishing their new Masonic world order, an order that is pretty much staring us in the face. What our world has become is exactly what the Masons shaped it to be. Now, honestly, there hasn't been a better time to turn to God than it is today. You lose nothing if you believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. If his promise is true, you will live forever. And if he doesn't exist like people are being programmed to think, then you lose nothing at all. The worst thing that may happen to you is that it makes you a better person. So turn to God and secure your eternal soul's safety. Well, I'm gonna end this one here.
To be looking at some disturbing videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. Oh yes, we do have quite a few news stories to get into today, so where do we begin? Well, I have been saying for quite some time now, I've been making a couple of videos on the subject of asteroids and aliens and how they relate. If you go back to those videos, I referenced people like Carol Rosen, Werner von Braun, who worked for NASA, and even NASA themselves, because while they do very shady things, they always give us the truth in plain sight, like we see with almost everything else, other forms of entertainment, movies, Hollywood, the music videos, video games, and so forth. But they bring out certain people to also give us the truth in plain sight as well. Referencing those people, how they were saying there was going to be a space race competing against Russia and all these smaller countries having weapons in space. And then next they were saying asteroids would be the next biggest enemy, and then the final card would be this fake stage alien invasion. Whether you believe this or not, I strongly believe we are seeing this play out in real time, and I theorize, and it's only a theory, that they are going to blame all these plane crashes, all these aviation incidents on UFOs. Yesterday, news came out that there was another plane crash. Two planes had collided into each other at an airport in Arizona. Now, this airport does not have a tower, but you hardly hear of any crashes at this particular airport. But at the same time, news has come out that an airport in Turkey had to shut down due to a UFO sighting, a possible UFO sighting. Now, they don't know if it's Starlink or a drone or something else altogether, but due to this sighting, they had to halt all flights from this airport in Turkey. I'll go ahead and link the news article below in the comment section, but this individual on TikTok, Hallucination Hippies, he does an amazing breakdown about this incident in Istanbul.
Afternoon all, happy Wednesday. More UAP sightings, and one in particular coming from Turkey, which caused major disruption, closing Gaziantep Airport on Monday. I found this article, which you will find in the comments below. Turkey's Gaziantep Airport suspended all flights following reports that a glowing, radar-invisible, unidentified flying object was spotted in the sky, local media reported on Tuesday. Pilots at Gaziantep Airport saw a glowing unidentified object at an altitude of about 10,000 feet and reported the situation to the control tower after two pilots reported an object that was not visible on radar. Flights, landing and takeoff of aircraft at the airport were stopped, local online newspaper T24 wrote. Flight activities at the airport are expected to resume once the object, which is suspected to be a drone, has been properly identified. Here is a news clip from Turkey with the aircraft pilots speaking and also footage taken by a civilian at the same time. Take a look and I'll be back shortly.
Rapor edilmesi üzerine uçuşlar geçici süreyle durduruldu. Gaziantep Havalimanı'ndaki cismi iki pilot fark etti. Radarlarda görünmeyen cisimle ilgili Hava Trafik Kontrol Kulesi'nde raporda bulundular. Bunun üzerine havalimanında önlemler artırıldı. Uçuşlar geçici süreyle durduruldu. Tanımlanamayan cismin drone olduğu tahmin ediliyor. İncelemeler sürüyor.
Tekrardan anlayışınız, sabrınız için teşekkür ederim. Havadaki cismin ne olduğunu tespit edemedik. Dolayısıyla beklemekten başka çaremiz yok. Yeni bir bilgi aldığımda sizlere bilgi vereceğim. Tekrardan
Let me know your thoughts on the Turkey incidents, guys. You know, that's really interesting. The only thing for me is how straight away the news article labels it a drone. It clearly doesn't look like a drone to me. Does it you? Let me know your thoughts on that one. I've got some more footage now. This is coming from Derby again. That's where I live. As you know, I posted footage last week from Zoe Rose. I had my own incident the week before. This footage comes from my business partner and the person that I adore with all my heart. Take a look at this. Let me know your thoughts. It's definitely not a plane. She sent it me last night when I was on the phone to her. And yeah, take a look. Let me know your thoughts. I'll be back later going live. Grant will be co-hosting with me as normal, and we'll look forward to seeing you then.
Now, if you go back to either late December of 2024 or the beginning of 2025, we were getting a lot of news stories of unidentified drones. And yes, he is correct. News and media, they are quick to call them drones. But we were getting a lot of news stories how unidentified drones were flying over restricted airspace. Not only were we getting news about how there were unidentified drones flying over major airports, public airports, for example, like the one in Manchester, but we were also getting a lot of news how there were unidentified drones flying over Air Force bases. They were flying over so many restricted airspace, these quote unquote unidentified drones, that we all pretty much had the same question. Why isn't the government shooting them down and identifying them? Well, they came back and said they can't, because there's a law that they can't shoot them down because they're not doing anything wrong. They're not showing any violent action. But the thing is, they are already breaking the law by flying over restricted airspace. Let us be honest, it's not like the government hasn't done what they wanted to anyway, regardless of the law. But it made us feel like that they couldn't bring them down, like these drones or these quote unquote drones were something else altogether, some very advanced technology. After all this news of drones and orbs, well, what are we seeing? We are hearing and seeing a lot of news about all these plane crashes, and not just these small private planes that always seem to crash, but commercial airliners. Commercial airliners having a lot of issues, and also, yes, they're crashing. And on top of this, military air travel is also having issues. F-35s just crashing out of the sky and so forth. Don't you find it very suspicious that all of the commercial airliners, the major planes and some of the smaller planes, but all of the commercial airliners crashed at the airport? The 4 planes that crashed back to back in December all happened at the airport, especially the South Korean plane that smashed right into the wall. And then we had this Black Hawk crashing into the American Airlines plane happened at the airport as it was landing. And then more recently, the Canadian plane that crashed on its back, well, it was a Delta plane, the United States plane, but it happened in Toronto. It crashed on its back. They're all happening at the airports. And we were getting all this news coming out about these quote unquote unidentified drones flying over airports and airspaces. Beauty Merc on TikTok has a very similar theory as I do when it comes to these plane crashes. It also all falls into fear, a psychological campaign to stop us from flying. But he also sees it as, again, UFOs are involved. But when it comes to me, I believe it's not the UFOs they want us to believe, like entities from another planet and so forth. No, it's all from within.
Have you noticed how just this year we've started noticing plane crashes much more than we ever have before? Primarily being because of how much attention that the media is placing on them, which one can only wonder why the media is doing that in the first place. And I have a theory. Because do keep in mind, okay, we're basically currently experiencing less airplane accidents than ever before in history. It makes no sense for the media to be reporting on these crashes so often when in actuality, these crashes happen more than you think. And they have for years, people. You need to wake up and stop becoming victims of psychological warfare. And think about how it's affecting people, right? People are literally afraid to fly. And I've been wondering what the goal of creating that fear would accomplish. And then it hit me. People are no longer talking about what's been happening in the skies aside from these plane crashes. I tried to bring awareness to something specific that was happening in the Gulf of Mexico, but of course they suppressed that video. Now that is in the Gulf of Mexico, but this is happening literally all over the country. I think that there's a war going on in the skies that nobody is paying attention to right now. And I have hundreds of videos showing these objects. They're literally as bright as stars and sometimes above our atmosphere, sometimes above an altitude of which airplanes fly. But they're not a satellite, they don't blink, and they move in any direction almost at an instant. And they move much faster than a fighter jet or any known aircraft. I know because I've literally witnessed fighter jets try to chase them over the Gulf of Mexico and fail to do so. These sightings are happening everywhere, all over the country right now, but no media source is talking about it. But yet when these mysterious, in quotations, drones were flying around, the media's attention was on them almost instantly, all the time. And now they've just miraculously disappeared, which we also didn't even get an answer behind their origins to begin with. People need to start looking up more often and catching these things on video. Have you noticed how just this year we've started noticing?
Technically, he is right. There are a lot less aviation incidents in 2025 as opposed to the beginning of 2024 and 2023. The only thing is that we have not had a major commercial airliner crash in the United States since 2009. And that's in reference to the commercial airliner crash that happened in Washington, D.C. So it seems like there is an uptick of issues with commercial airliners, the bigger planes. But when it comes to these smaller aircraft, the private aircraft, there were a lot of crashes in 2024 and 2023. And for whatever reason, news and media, they are making a very big deal about these smaller aircraft to make it seem like planes are crashing more and more when that's not the truth. Getting people scared to fly, it's all playing into that psychological campaign. But I still do believe, and as he noticed as well with all the orbs and drones, I still do believe that orbs and drones are going to play a role into this when it comes to later news. You don't believe me, that's fine, but look at the news story that News Nation is running with today. And I wasn't even aware of this as I was making this video. I had to come back and re-edit this video, but they have an article out where a military pilot's reported encounter with a UFO, and it's titled, "This is Going to Sound Weird." And it's all about how this military pilot had encountered a UFO. We're going to see more and more of these news articles, not just from News Nation, but other news agencies until, like I said, they eventually blame UFOs, UAPs, quote unquote, unidentified drones and orbs on these plane crashes. If you go back to my previous video of the Toronto plane crash, which I can't show here because last time I did so, I was put into a limited category. Somebody pointed out that you can actually see something black flying in the sky, which looks pretty similar to these black things that I have been talking about. Now, I don't know if it's some kind of artifact in that person's camera, and it's very possible, but you can definitely see something. But at the end of the day, whether that's an artifact, a glitch on the camera, or something else altogether, I still feel like this is leading to something much bigger. They, and when I say they, I'm talking about the so-called powers that be, those who are ushering in this one world government, this 2030 agenda. I theorize that they're going to say that UFOs, aliens, they are jamming signals, they are interfering with airspace and so forth, causing planes to crash, causing planes to collide into each other, and it's going to become more frequent. They are going to blame it on drones, and then the drones are going to turn right back into UAPs. I theorize that's how it's going to play out. When it comes to the Toronto plane crash, there are some of us, not a lot of us, but some of us, we feel like there is something off about that crash. And yes, in the first place, it's a crash, but just something they're not telling us how it crashed, the video footage that has come out, certain things that were said inside of that video footage that I can't get into on this channel, because when you call certain things, if you know what I mean, you often find yourself getting banned. So that conversation is saved for my Humble page. But news has come out that Delta has offered these passengers $30,000. I'm surprised it wasn't $33,000, but they have offered them $30,000, no strings attached, but they have to sign an agreement with thousands of words.
Thanks for joining us. Today, only one person injured in Monday's Delta plane crash remains hospitalized.
Within the last hour or two, some breaking news. We learned Delta is now offering $30,000 to survivors of that crash. Delta says the money comes with no strings attached. However, some passengers tell us their gratitude is mixed with frustration. Adam Duxter has been following this story and talking with passengers today. Adam, what have you learned?
Oh, Frank, you can only imagine the week that these folks have been through, but now a new twist. I've had a chance to look at the offer sent to every passenger on board that flight, a one-time $30,000 gift that Delta says comes no strings attached and doesn't impact passenger rights. In that offer, it's written that passengers must accept the agreement by March 6th. The fine print says it's a message provided on a confidential basis, and that by accepting the email, they are then prompted to a terms and conditions agreement, thousands of words in length. Schwabel Getz and Sieben, a personal injury firm based in Minneapolis, says they've already been contacted by a number of passengers that were on that flight about potential representation, even before these payments came forward. And they say passengers aboard this flight certainly have the right to compensation.
Airlines like Delta or others have a heightened duty of care. They're a common carrier under our law, which means they have a heightened duty beyond just what the normal person has. Our law allows for these individuals to be compensated for the emotional trauma that they went through, both the experience of living this, but the aftermath.
And prior to this payout announcement today, we'd heard from passengers frustrated by what they say up until that point was a lack of communication from Delta. It's clear prior to this, there had been no communication about potential payout. In a statement, Delta says today that they're also assisting customers with hotels, meals, and transportation, as well as other personal needs, and that they'll start reuniting people with their belongings as soon as they're able to. That sorting and cleaning everything that was left on board that plane could.
So again, no strings attached, but you have to sign all this stuff and it's confidential. So I'm sure these people are waiving their right to sue and waiving their right to say a lot of things. To a lot of people, $30,000 is a lot of money. You can pay off a lot of debt. But to me, going through that ordeal, you're going to have to add a couple zeros to that $30,000. I mean, that is a situation that nobody wants to be in. Now, I know some people out there will say it's always about the money. Everybody just wants to sue. But sometimes the only way these organizations, these companies will listen and start making changes is if you hit them in the pockets. But I am very, very interested to see what that fine print says that these passengers have to sign in order to get this $30,000. That, again, there's no strings attached. But talking about asteroids and aliens, again, all this talks about aliens, and now we're all talking about asteroids, just like they told us we would. But news has come out yesterday that the chances of asteroid 2024 YR4 hitting the Earth has increased by, I believe, another percentage. Now they are releasing articles immediately after they said the chance has increased, getting people worried. Now they are saying, hours later, they are saying the chance has decreased. So I guess they're playing those mind games. But I do find it interesting that they are also releasing articles how this asteroid has a trajectory where more than 100 million people live. Reading this article, it says the trajectory takes it over 8 of the top 100 most populated cities in the world. The urban area of these cities alone have a combined population of more than 110 million, with the destructive potential of asteroid 2024 YR4 equivalent to 8 million tons of TNT, roughly 500 times the power of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. We are also getting news articles how Earth can defend itself against the city killer asteroid, 3 asteroid watchers for China's planetary defense force. So again, asteroids have now become the enemy, just like they said they would. And it's just interesting how this asteroid happens to be targeting the location with one of the highest populations on Earth. We're going to continue hearing news how the chances of it hitting Earth has increased, then it decreased again, then it increased. It's just a sick mind game leading up to this false flag. Outside of UFOs and aliens, in this next segment, I made a video a couple days ago about these news reports coming out, how all these states were flooding. States like Virginia, West Virginia, Arkansas, Tennessee, especially Kentucky. There was this individual on TikTok who saw on this flight tracker this very suspicious plane doing all these circles, and then immediately after, it began to flood. While all these states were dealing with a horrific flood to the point that people were losing their lives, Los Angeles just happened to be dealing with a horrific flood at around the same time. And while Los Angeles was dealing with a horrific flood, just out of nowhere, a water main had broken in Detroit, supposedly anyway. But there was such a horrific flood in Detroit that cars are actually frozen at the same time. It was very, very cold, causing the water to freeze. And now people, they cannot access their vehicles until the ice melts. This is what I believe it currently looks like in Detroit.
Guys, all our basement is flooded. We've been calling since 1 a.m. for help and nobody has came to help us. We're just trying to leave the house, to be honest.
So yeah, while all these other states are dealing with floods, Detroit just happens to be dealing with one of the worst water main breaks in history. And on top of that, the water has now frozen. But it has gotten a lot worse because many people, many homes have been impacted.
A water main break caused this surreal scene of cars trapped in ice in southwest Detroit. And now nearly 300 people may have to spend weeks in hotels as the city cleans up their neighborhood. A massive 100-year-old steel pipe ruptured around 2 a.m. on Monday, when temperatures were already well below freezing. We're talking 21 degrees. More than 250 homes were either flooded or lost power, and residents had to be rescued by boats. City officials called it one of the worst water main breaks in recent history. A water main break caused this
So yeah, it is really, really bad currently in Detroit with this water main breaking on top of freezing temperatures. People can't access their cars and they can't access their homes. A lot of people. And it really makes you wonder, does Detroit have anything interesting going on like Los Angeles? We know that Los Angeles has the 2028 Smart City. Kentucky, Arkansas, and those other states have a lot of resources, including lithium. But does Detroit have anything going on? Well, looking into it further, Detroit is working towards becoming a smart city through projects that use data and technology to improve transportation, safety, and infrastructure. But isn't it quite astonishing, all these locations that are either becoming smart cities or have something valuable inside of them, but at the end of the day, all of these locations are going to end up smart cities thanks to these long-range transportation plans, these contracts. But it's quite astonishing that we see these locations have something historic going on, whether it's fires, historic floods, and so forth, that cause a lot of damage. And we find out that they are on the chopping block to become smart cities. Can't make it up. Can't make it up even if you wanted to. Thank you so much for watching.
Kofi, follow me.